There we go. Hello, hello, hello. Right, we are live on both YouTube and TikTok, despite my inability to do tech properly because, I'm a professional in everything, right?
Yes.
So, basically, over to you. Why don't you let everyone know what is happening and what the score is, who's debating, what's going on, and
Yes.
I am no longer the host. Over to you.
Yes. So this is there's three different topics being covered. One of them is moon landing, then gravity and rotation. And we have Rose Sanchez, if you wanted to introduce yourself as well. And so 7 minutes each side, rebuttal and then discussion. We can have Q&A at the end. So
So, am I going first with the intros, the 7 minute intro then?
Sure.
and let me pull up that timer again.
So 7 minute intros and then 7 minutes for each topic, back and forth and stuff. So yeah.
Yep. Let me know when you're ready.
All right, I'm ready to do my intro. Here we go.
Yep. It's timer's
Hello,
on.
everyone. My name is Craig McNeil. Online, I'm known as FTFE, Flight to Flat Earth. And before anything else, I would like you to know exactly who you're listening to. I hold 2 degrees, one in physics and one in nuclear engineering, specializing in energy systems and fission technologies. I served in the Royal Navy. I worked with real navigation systems, inertial systems, and applied physics, the kind that does not care what you believe. It works or people die. So I'm not here for speculation. I'm here for reality. My position is simple. The Earth is an oblate spheroid. It rotates, it orbits, it tilts. Every serious branch of science agrees because the evidence forces it to. Flat Earth is not an alternative model. It's roleplay. There's no equations, there's no working maps, no predictive framework, just undeserved confidence. In inertial navigation, we use something called Schuyler tuning, which literally builds Earth curvature into the system. In submarines, we use gravity gradient and inertial navigation. They account for Earth's radius, the spin, the mass, and the latitude that you are. If Earth were flat, they would drift into nonsense. They don't, because it's not. Artillery, missiles, aircraft, hurricanes, all corrected for Coriolis. Foucault's pendulum does not start on its own. If it did, it would violate conservation of energy. It would be magic. It started carefully with no twist. Then the swing plane rotates because Earth rotates. At the pole, once per day. At the equator, 0. In between, proportional. There's the Sagnac effect with 2 light beams going in opposite directions. 1 second. Just lost my place. Technology, huh? In submarines, we use gravity gradient inertial navigation systems. Okay, so artillery corrects for Coriolis, missiles correct for Coriolis, and hurricanes follow Coriolis. Let's talk about experiments. We've got Foucault's pendulum, one of the most misunderstood experiments in physics, misunderstood by flat earthers mostly on purpose. Foucault's pendulum does not start by itself. If it did, it would violate the conservation of energy and it would be magic. So pendulums are started by humans, carefully and gently using burned threads, electromagnets, or remote releases, because if you twist it, you contaminate the experiment. Once it is swinging freely, the plane of the swing rotates, not because the pendulum moves, not because air pushes it, not because of magnets, because Earth rotates underneath it. At the North Pole, rotates once per day. At the equator, not at all. In between, proportionally. Measured, verified, repeated for over 170 years. I've done it personally. Flat Earth has never explained it, not once. The Sagnac effect, light travels different times around a rotating loop. You send light clockwise and anti-clockwise around a closed path. If nothing is rotating, they return together. If the platform is rotating, one beam travels effectively further, it arrives later. The time difference creates an interference pattern. From that, you can calculate a rotation rate. This is how ring laser gyros and fiber optic gyros work. They are inside aircraft, submarines, missiles, and spacecraft, and they constantly measure Earth's rotation. If Earth were not rotating, these devices would read 0. They don't. They read 15 degrees per hour. Exactly what the globe predicts. There's shadow angles. You can get 2 cities with 2 sticks, same sun, and they have different angles, and calculate the Earth's circumference. Happened 2,500 years ago with Eratosthenes, and it's done all the time with multiple people. Antarctica is flat Earth's kryptonite. Every southern summer, the sun stays up for 24 hours. On a globe, that's guaranteed. On a flat Earth, it's impossible. Will Duffy organised the final experiment, invited flat earthers and globe earthers. Independent observers. No NASA, no government, no agencies. My friends went. My personal friends, MC Toon, Dave McKeegan, and ex-flat earther Jeranism. They travelled there in the summer, watched the sun circle the sky. They filmed it, they live streamed it, they documented it, multiple cameras, multiple angles, multiple days, exactly what the globe predicts happened. That should have ended the debate. Instead, flat earthers invented new conspiracies. GPS requires orbital mechanics and relativity. Flat Earth can't support that. Millions of images from weather satellites, private companies and amateur rockets, tow tanks, flight simulators, navigation simulators, they all use spherical models because they work, because the Earth's a sphere. Surveyors measured Earth long before satellites, the American arc of the parallel, using triangles and baselines and angles. They mapped a sphere. Every major bridge, tunnel and canal uses geodetic surveying. Water.
So what we looking at here is a small
level means perpendicular to gravity. Gravity points to Earth's center. So water forms a curved equipotential surface. Curvature is about 1 degree every 6 to 9 miles, and that's measured. Just check out Jesse Kozlowski if you need to. At cruising altitudes about 10 to 11 kilometers, you can see the sun after it is set on the ground. You can see it below your eye level. That means its apparent position is below you when you're in a plane. On a flat Earth, that is impossible, because that means the sun would have to be inside the atmosphere, inside the clouds. The sun delivers about 1,360 watts per square meter. That's more than a powerful heater. Inside clouds, that would flash boil water droplets. You'd see steam and turbulence, not stable clouds. But we see stable clouds because the sun is in fact millions of miles away, and Earth curves away underneath it. The globe predicts, flat Earth reacts. Flat Earth has no equations, no maps, and no navigation. I've studied this, I've worked in it, I've applied it. It works, flat Earth doesn't. Reality is undefeated. There's my intro.
Thank you for that. And I think it's for time for your intro, bro. I'm gonna meet Craig for this, so whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Yep.
I like to start off by saying Craig was in the Navy, he mentioned. Periscopes can't work if the Earth is a globe, because we're talking about instruments that are right off of the surface of the water. They're sitting right off of they're not even lifting up high. They're right above the surface of the water. You know, if you ever go look up a periscope, I don't know if we can screen share here, but periscopes can't see over curves. Radar can't scan over a curve. If you think about a radar, it's a two-dimensional flat circle, right? And the radar has a line that it goes around the center of the circle. It will pick up objects as dots. Okay, the radar don't scan over a curve, and it's going out well past 8 miles, well past the distance where we should detect curvature. That's one thing about being in the Navy and not understanding the basics, that if I'm in a submarine and I'm launching a missile hundreds of miles at a target, the missile don't account for curvature. It just don't. It's traveling in a straight line, not in an arc. You talked about Foucault's pendulum rotating at 15 degrees per hour. But the truth about the pendulum is that the 15 degrees per hour is equating for how much time that the sun spends in each time zone. There are 24 time zones on an AE map. So if you take a flat Earth map, cut it like a pie, you get 24 slices. That's our 24 time zones. The sun is spending 1 hour in each of those time zones every day as it do a complete 360-degree circle, not a 365-degree circle. The sun is not doing a 365-degree circle, right? The sun is doing a perfect 360-degree circle, and it's spending 1 hour in each of the 24 time zones, giving us 24 hours. Each of those 24 time zones represent 15 degrees of arch that the sun is doing in a circle. Now, what is 15 times 24? 360 degrees. Simple math. Simple perfection. It's based upon sexagesimal math. It's based upon 60 seconds being in a minute, 60 minutes being in an hour. All of this is divisible by 360, right? If you were to try to incorporate the globe's model based upon orbital mechanics, not reality, you would have 365 days and you would now need leap year. So the thing about how the sky work, I don't even want to bring up really the final experiment, because I didn't participate in the experiment. Maybe if Duffy go again, I'll go next time. But I can only debate from my own experiments, what I do have, right? So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm not gonna use anyone else's work for my research here today. It's all me. One thing I like to point out, you know, bringing up your degrees don't mean you've questioned the stuff you've been taught, right? Degrees and titles don't grant immunity from being wrong. They represent training, not infallibility. Science was never meant to be a priesthood where credentials replace evidence. Its entire strength comes from skepticism, challenge, and the willingness to be questioned. When expertise is treated as unquestionable authority, science stops being a method and turns into dogma, which it has been for the past couple of years, hundreds of years, I would say. But what I'll say is this as well. For my intro here today, we have 3 topics on the table: the moon missions, rotation, and gravity. I'm going to make some very compelling arguments for all 3 of these based upon my own independent experience. I don't know what Craig going to do. Now, if Craig went to Antarctica, then by all means, use your experience. I'm showing up with personal experience, not hearsay, not copying off anyone else's papers in experimentation, because my claims are based upon my own experience and research. So honestly, if I were to consider the final experiment, I would have had to went and done that experiment myself. Quite frankly, I don't think it's legit. I saw a lot of red flags with the footage, and these guys dismiss it just by acting like things can't be faked, or why would you fake it? That ain't science. Science is me being skeptical, questioning, looking for the flaws. If it can be faked, I want to see, has it been faked? Everything must be scrutinized, and if the stuff wasn't fake, you wouldn't have a problem with people scrutinizing it. At the end of the day, coming back and showing people videos isn't compelling evidence. Again, I admit that those people will have to go themselves, because I really don't think that Pastor Duffy is the first man in the world to do this experiment. He did it before science. He did it before NASA. This should be bigger than what it was, if you ask me, but it's a nothing burger, because quite frankly, I think that I don't think it's legit. There's so many red flags pointed out with the final experiment footage that is just crazy. It makes me say, I just want to go myself and see for myself. Now, even if I saw a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it wouldn't make me think the earth flat, because sky observations don't change ground measurements, right?
1 minute.
Sky observations don't change ground measurements. So we're not going to let Craig skate by bringing up his degrees, because that's just not proof of any of his claims. He has to show up today and legitimately prove what he's saying, and he can't just lean on degrees. So that was a good try. I'll spend the latter of my time saying this as well. Pay attention to both arguments throughout the debate and see who is making critical thinking analysis based upon their own personal observational research, and see who's just regurgitating stuff that they haven't challenged. Because which one of those is science and which one of those is indoctrination? I'm here today to question what I've been told. And if you find the flaws that I found, then you can understand why I'm saying the earth is stationary and flat.
And that is time. Who wanted to start with the moon landing debate?
I was first for the moon missions. I think that'll be me.
Okay.
And
Just
I
making sure.
also would, before you start the time, I would like to prepare my little thing here, and I'm gonna screen share. I don't know if you got this. Okay, here we go. Screen share.
Yep.
Am I screen sharing on your end right now?
Yes, on my end, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna read this and then we're gonna examine some of the moon landing, the footage from the moon landings. But I want to read my notes first for my argument. You can start the clock right now.
Do you want me to let you know when you have a minute?
Cool. So the most common defense of the Apollo moon missions is not evidence, it's assumption. We're told that they couldn't have faked it. The technology didn't exist. And that statement is demonstrably false. The debate is whether or not they could have been faked or not. And I think they could have been faked. So point one, film and illusion technology already existed. By the time of Apollo, the world already had decades of experience faking reality on camera. Long before color television, filmmakers could composite people into places they were never in, create artificial environments, simulate vast landscapes, control lighting, shadows, and depth. These techniques were not experimental, they were the standard. Matte paintings, optical compositing, rear projection, traveling mattes, and in-camera effects were all mature technologies by the 1940s and 50s, long before the moon missions. If Hollywood could fake cities, skies, and crowds convincingly in black and white, if you watch some of those old Hollywood movies, it's very convincing. All right, simulating a barren, high contrast, monochrome lunar surface would have been easier, not harder. Point two, black and white made fakery easier, not harder. People assume black and white footage is more authentic. In reality, it's more forgiving. Black and white masks seams and composites, hides depth errors, reduces detail scrutiny, eliminates color mismatch issues, right? Like, because with regular green screen and color, you have color mismatch issues. Black and white takes away all of that. Early lunar footage was low resolution, high contrast, and grainy, right? Exactly the conditions under which compositing and staging are the hardest to detect. In other words, if you were going to fake something, this is how you would film it, in black and white and grains, so you would hide the artifacts. Chroma key and compositing predate the Apollo missions. Green screen is not modern magic. It is a digital version of analog techniques that already existed during the moon missions. Before color TV, technicians keyed off brightness, contrast, and silhouette separation, and they were using blue screens before green screens. And it was because blue registered cleanly on black and white film. NASA didn't need modern CGI. They only needed control lighting, control camera angles, control sets, optical compositing, all of which existed. So let's talk about this. We just read something that said green screen, the technology to fake this stuff existed. We're going to look for some of the artifacts. Let's play one of these videos of the moon missions and let's observe the astronaut's body. I'm about to hit play right now, and the astronaut will be walking from right to left. Watch this.
Fool people.
Look at the astronaut now. What we're looking at, let's do this in slow motion, because what we're going to show y'all is blue screen technology. One thing that's consistent when you're using this kind of technology is you tend to see through people. You tend to see through them. People become translucent. Let's look at it. This is the actual footage of the moon missions, and what I want to point out, we got to examine this very carefully. I'm going to go slow motion. I want to point out that we will be able to see the astronaut's body. We will be able to see the flagpoles through the astronaut body. Now, here's my mouse cursor. I want to ask the moderator, is the moderator able to see my mouse cursor moving? And then I'll continue.
I am, yes.
Thank you. So what my mouse cursor is showing a clear line, which is the flagpole here. And I want you to see the astronaut's body as they walk by the flagpoles. You see how you can still see the flagpole through the body, even through the back of the backpack here. This flagpole should be blocked by a huge backpack, but the back of the astronaut's body is having what I call a chroma key glitch. This is when you know someone is using green screen and you're able to see through them. The people at the time when this was aired, they didn't know about this technology, but we're in 2026 now, and we can point out some of the glitches we see in our digital reality. We're the TikTok generation, right? We're familiar with this. We just didn't think it was around during the time, but it is. So if you observe this, the astronaut only moves left from right. And that explains why the flag in the background isn't blowing in the wind. The flag isn't waving in the background because the background is a still image. And whenever you're doing blue screen, green screen, and you have a still background, you don't walk into the background. That's why the astronaut never walked into the shuttle. He never touched the flag. We can even see a screen ripple right here. If you do streaming, you know that that's a ripple from the curtain that we see passing here. The entire astronaut's upper body has vanished, y'all. Where did he go? That's called a chroma key glitch. When you see a solid object phase, and you can see the background through the astronaut's body. If you pay attention to the astronaut's body, you can see this background through his legs here, through his body here. Look at him. He's see-through. He's see-through. So I showed you that when they make the argument that they didn't have the technology to fake it, that's a lie. We did have the exact same tech capabilities we have today. It was just a more analog form of it, but it had the same capabilities. And black and white made the trickery less, visible. It made it, because when you got all of this grainy footage and stuff, people, they think that that's just part of the low quality of the film. And that's what the news people said here, but low quality film don't make a person see-through. Chroma key does. So the moon missions are something I got to believe in. It makes it a belief system. That ain't what science is about. And I choose not to believe. So can't no one force me to believe something I don't want to. Just prove it. And you can't. I'll yield there.
Oh, okay. And it's Craig's turn for his intro, and then we'll go into the rebuttals. So go ahead,
Stop
Craig.
Screen share.
Yes, and let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so one sec.
Do you want me to give you a minute warning?
I can see the timer. It's fine.
Okay.
Right. Here is the problem. To fake Apollo, you don't just need a camera. You need to fake physics, engineering, orbital mechanics, telemetry, radio tracking, independent verification for over 50 years without anyone proving it was fake. Ever. That alone should make you suspicious of the conspiracy, not the landing. Let's start with the cameras, because a common claim is they filmed it at high speed and slowed it down. That sounds clever until you understand 1960s technology. In 1969, there was no digital storage, no solid-state drives, no terabyte servers. Video was stored on magnetic tapes. NASA transmitted live video from the moon. It wasn't stored and edited, it was broadcast. To fake slow motion by overcranking, you need massive amounts of extra film, massive storage, and massive processing capabilities. That technology did not exist in the 1960s and 70s. And even if it did, where's the missing footage? Where are the extra reels? Well, they don't exist either. Let's talk about one of my favorite bits, the moon buggy. I'm going to share my screen here. Where is it? Sorry, let me get the right screen up. Oh, goodness. One sec, sorry. It's that one. So, right, share. Right, so if we go to... sorry, I had this all prepared and I've moved all the stuff around. Right, so my favorite bit is the moon buggy, especially during what the astronauts jokingly called the Grand Prix. You can see dust coming off of the wheels of the moon buggy, and it follows parabolic arcs. These bits here. No spray, no mist, no lingering clouds. Why is that? Well, because there is no atmosphere. On Earth, dust spreads and slows. In a vacuum, it follows pure ballistic trajectories. People have modeled this, and here we have some of the modeling, which you can do yourself. Don't just believe me. Don't just believe what you see here. Watch the video and model it yourself. It's very simple. Using Newtonian mechanics and using the known gravity on the moon, the dust behaves exactly as predicted. What we have here is the tracking of dust particles coming, or regolith particles coming off of the rear of the moon buggy's wheels. And we can see that these two grey lines here represent the gravitational acceleration on the moon and what would happen if they were on the moon. And as you can see, they all fall within that line. If they were on Earth, then they would follow these green lines and fall a lot quicker and also spread out. But they didn't. The dust behaves exactly as predicted. To fake that on Earth, you would need a giant vacuum chamber, low gravity, full mobility, and extremely long distance driving of a tiny little buggy. That didn't exist in 1969, not even close. Physics and engineering can't be faked like that. It would have to not only fake the video, but fake gravity, and remove all the atmosphere in the studio that it was being faked. Dust cannot travel in a pure parabolic arc when there is air. It would disturb it, and it doesn't. Watch the videos yourself, analyze the footage yourself, do the maths yourself. It is impossible, because if they faked it, they had to change gravity and they had to change the actual atmosphere in the studio that it was done in. So I'm going to stop sharing there because that's the only bit I needed to share. Here's another thing conspiracy theorists hate. Apollo didn't just happen once, it happened 6 times. Different crews, different landing sites, different years, different equipment. Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Each mission has independent telemetry, independent photos, independent samples, independent tracking. Not just NASA, but people, civilians, normal people tracked everything themselves. If this were fake, someone would have messed up all that tracking and it wouldn't have all matched, but they didn't. Geopolitics, because this alone destroys the hoax theory. During Apollo, the Cold War was at its peak. The Soviet Union was America's biggest enemy, but they tracked Apollo with radar, with radio, with observatories. If America faked it, then the Soviets would have exposed it immediately. They didn't. Neither did China, neither did North Korea, neither did anyone else that was classed as America's enemies. If it was faked, then everyone else wouldn't have said that it was real, especially America's enemies. You know why? Because it actually happened. The spacesuits, the Apollo suits were airtight, they were completely sealed, but they weren't pressurized to sea level. They ran at about 3.7 psi with pure oxygen, because full pressure would have made movement impossible. The suits had multiple layers and cooling systems, micrometeorite protection, and life support. You don't fake that with costumes. They were pressure tested inside vacuum chambers and independently verified. The most important thing is the independent verification from so many people around the world, not just NASA. And finally, radio signals. Apollo communications were not secret. They were broadcast openly. It wasn't just a video that was played. It was a live broadcast from, you can track it, the moon. Amateur radio operators around the world tracked them. People in Australia, Spain, Germany, Japan. They recorded Doppler shifts, signal delays, movement. You can't fake that globally and it all be the same in real time with 1960s technology. Thousands of independent listeners confirmed it. So to believe the moon landing was fake, you have to believe that thousands of engineers lied, 6 missions were staged perfectly, enemy nations stayed silent, physics were simulated flawlessly, radio signals were forged worldwide. Or, the other alternative is humans went to the moon. One of those is reasonable, the other is fantasy. I do like how Bro showed a picture at the beginning saying who took this. Very simple. That was the lunar lander, and the picture was taken from the orbiter as it went. Very, very simple. Also, that wasn't a pole. That was there was only one flag. There wasn't 2. He went in front of something. So the fact that it was independently verified by so many people, the technology to fake the slow motion didn't exist, and the physics of the parabolic trajectory of the regolith proves the moon landing happened. Don't believe me? Verify it yourself.
Thank you for that, Craig. We're going to have rebuttals from each of our guests before
Yeah, I have
going
a,
into open discussion.
yeah, I have a question for Craig in this round. I use this as a moment to ask him, why do in a lot of these photos of the moon's surface, we see a lot of duplicate rocks like the one I'm seeing here? Go ahead and debunk that little conspiracy among flat earthers for us here. This was another thing I was scratching my head about. And then I got some more questions for you. And if you got some for me, go right
What's the
ahead, man.
source for that picture? Plus, they don't look exactly the same.
You don't think these two rocks look exactly the same right here?
Well, the shadows are very different coming off of them, but what's the source for that? Where did you get that?
I'll admit that this is just an image that supposedly come from the moon missions. I can't verify if it's from NASA or not.
So to be clear, you didn't take that, because I thought you said that you had to only do things that you had verified. So
I was just asking you a question based upon a popular claim that's being made among a community. So whether I subscribe to the claim or not, I was just trying to pick your brain about what you thought about it, right? It's neither here nor there, though, to
I
the
would need to see the
points that I was
source.
up there.
Before I can answer any question about it, I would like to know exactly where it came from, because flat earthers have been known to fake a bunch of stuff.
No problem. And speaking of flat earthers faking stuff, have you ever seen this one here?
Yeah,
which
that's
shows
fake by flat earthers, yeah.
Well, I don't understand how it would be fake, because the question I would ask is this. If NASA's giving us a picture of a land feature on Mars on the right, and someone just so happened to find that same feature that's identical to it on the left, would you think that's just a coincidence, though? Because it could be. I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's not a picture from NASA. I've already debunked that one. That is just from a training site, and a flat earther took the picture, put an orange filter on it. What would be great is if you actually verified the sources that you get it from, because that's already been debunked as a fake by a flat earther.
Well, a lot of the things that's given to me by NASA isn't verified. I'm just asking you questions about claims that's being made so we can get them on the table here.
Well, everything from NASA's verified, but you've shown just
just saying that something is verified, that don't mean, it's just meaning that it comes from NASA, and they're claiming that they took it on the moon. I can't verify it personally. You're saying that it's independent verification, but science is about personal verification through the scientific method. It's about using the scientific method, not just because of people said that they verify, a bunch of people said it. That's consensus. That's called consensus. That ain't really science, which is why I stand firm on my claims. If all of you saying is that people, all of you doing is really making claims, and your way of proving them is saying that they can't be faked. When I can debate that, I can say they totally could fake it. When you say they didn't have the storage capabilities to store all of this stuff, we don't know the capabilities that they have and don't have truly. We don't. I don't think they disclose all of it to us. So I don't have any problem with a person questioning that. I don't think that the answer you given is satisfied just by saying we didn't have it. That ain't really a satisfactory answer to me, you know.
Well, you would have to prove that we did. And just to be clear, Brother Sanchez, nowhere in the scientific method does it say you have to do it yourself. That's not part of the scientific method.
You got to be able to, before you can call something truly a fact for yourself, I believe you have to have personal experience in it. Otherwise, you're just taking someone else's claim. So if science is about facts and truth must be now, if you tell me 2 + 2 is 4, I can say I believe you and I agree with you, but that don't mean I can prove it for myself, or that don't mean that I've proven it for myself, or that I've went through the process to understand why 2 + 2 is 4. I'm just saying, hey, it's 4 because Craig said it is. That's why I said it needs personal verification and experience. I think you would agree with that, right?
So could you just tell me which step of the scientific method says do it yourself? The 5 basic steps you learn at the high school, which one of those is you have to do it yourself?
I don't think that you necessarily have to do an experiment yourself, the same experiment a person do yourself, but you have to do some type of experiment to prove the claim yourself. For
And
example,
which part of the scientific method is that? Just to be clear, which
I
step of the scientific
didn't
method
say
is
that the scientific method necessarily said that. I said by using what I'm trying to say is that by using the scientific method, a person can deem something true or false based upon personal experience, based upon hearsay from a bunch of people. That's all I'm saying.
Again, you just said the scientific. Which part of the scientific method includes what you've just said?
I'm not even going to answer you, because if you don't get what I just said, then at this point it's just being ignorant, in my opinion.
So have you been to England?
I haven't been to England, no.
Does England exist?
It does.
How do you know?
Does.
You haven't verified it yourself.
I actually can't say that I know personally, but I believe it does based upon a bunch of independent verifications. Now, if I was to tell someone I know, so watch this, right? If I was to tell someone I know that England exists, it wouldn't really be 100% truthful, because I have not verified what I've been told. Now, I believe that if I go to this geographic location, I would see England, right? So at the end of the day, until I prove my belief, it's just me saying it's there because a bunch of other people went and they said it's there. I can't say personally I saw it and I can prove it for myself. Just like no different if a person saw an alien. If 1 million people see aliens, it don't prove them to me, and I can't say they don't exist, but I can't say I know that they exist based upon my own personal experience. I can say, hey, it's too many people made the claim, but that don't prove it to me. So what I would say is that I don't think there's a lot of people making these claims and doing these independent verifications that you claim, and you haven't said that, you just talking that. It don't take all of that to fool the world, Craig. All it take is the TV and putting stuff out there just like they do with news, and the public will take these stories and they will run with them. So programming don't got to be some big operation. It's very simple. I don't think it need all of these millions of people. It just need a few agencies working together. That's all. Okay, can we extend this moon mission to one more final question before moving on? Because I forgot to ask.
That was your time for rebuttal.
It's my time now for rebuttal. So yeah, you kept going about personal verification. It was independently
that was the back and forth, right?
Thousands and thousands and thousands.
No, that was
hold up, Craig. Stop his clock real quick. Reset his clock. Was that the back and forth?
No, that was rebuttals.
So why was he talking during? If I had known that, I would have read my rebuttal.
You asked me a question. That's why.
I thought that was a back and forth, and then we was gonna do the our little end closing for that. I didn't know that. That's why I was interacting with him like that. But it's all good though. But it's all good. No problem. It's all good.
Yeah. You keep going on about it needs to be independently verified, independently verified. The moon missions were independently verified by thousands and thousands and thousands of independent ham radio operators, of independent radar operators, of independent people receiving the radio signals from around the world, all collectively, independently getting the same thing, the same delays, the same Doppler shifts. It wasn't just a few agencies, it was around the world, independently, thousands and thousands and thousands of people that all independently verified. The very thing that you keep going on about didn't happen was the very thing that happened, and I already said that in my introduction and everything when I talked about the moon missions. The independent verification was the biggest thing that we can go to show the moon landings happened. The fact that it was tracked by people in Japan, in Spain, in Germany, in England, in Scotland, in America, in Brazil, in Africa, independently. Not anyone involved with any agencies, just civilians that had radio equipment independently verified that it happened. Now, I was not alive in 1969 or the 1970s, so of course I couldn't myself track those signals. But you can believe that I'm going to be independently verifying when Artemis 2 goes back to the moon in, February the 6th? Because it is happening again. We are literally going to the moon, or around it for this one, and then the next one will land on it. But it's happening, and that can be tracked independently as well. Every time you say it needs to be done independently, you prove the moon landings happened, because they were tracked and verified independently by thousands of people. And they would have all had to have independently lied about the same thing when none of them ever met. They all spoke different languages. They're all different sides of the planet, yet they all received the same thing independently. You keep saying independently, so I'm going to keep saying it as well. Nothing that you put up was verified. You have only shown images that are shared by other flat earthers. The one on screen right now is a fake by a flat earther. And the fact that you use that as some kind of evidence shows that you really haven't looked at evidence. You literally did. You also claimed that he walked in, that a flagpole was behind him when that wasn't a flagpole. That's something in front of him that he's walking past. You can never see the background behind him. You just see textures on the screen. Yeah, that's not a flagpole there. That's something he's walking in front of. The flagpole is the thing to the left, and that disappears as he goes past it. So, yeah, everything that you've shown was showing that the moon landing happened, or that flat earthers fake it to try and show that it didn't happen. So, yeah, I don't know why that's not a flagpole. That is not a flagpole. The flagpole is to the left. There was only one flag. That's not a flagpole. You can keep rolling the cursor over it. That's not a flagpole. There is only one flag. That's not a flagpole. Why are you doing that? Because it's not a flagpole. That is something that he is walking in front of, not behind. Thank you for showing that the footage is real. But again, we go back to the footage and the fact that, no, we know what technology existed in the 1960s and 70s. There was no solid state hard drives. There was no terabytes of storage. There was no ability to overclock and then have extra thousands of reels that you would play back in slow motion in real time as a live transmission that can be tracked independently coming from 2,500 miles away. 250,000 miles away, 250,000 miles away. People tracked the signal from 250,000 miles away. The independent verification from Russia, from China, all shows that it happened. Otherwise, they would have exposed it. There is no agencies working together when these countries are literally fighting each other. So the fact that you keep going on about independent verification debunks your claim, because it was independently verified by thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And then we can just literally talk about the physics again. The moon buggy, the regolith coming off the back of it. To fake that, you wouldn't only have had to have recorded it in a studio, you would have had to have changed gravity in the studio and removed all of the atmosphere in the studio. Otherwise, you would have not got the parabolic arcs that match the gravitational acceleration on the moon. Even if you claim the footage was sped up or slowed down, it doesn't change the physics of the parabolic arc and the way it traveled, and the fact that there was no atmosphere to cause fanning out and suspending of the dust in the air, which is what happens on Earth when dust gets kicked up from wheels. It gets suspended, it spreads out, it forms clouds. It doesn't do perfect little rooster tails in parabolic arcs. That is impossible to fake unless you can literally, again, make it with CGI or something which didn't exist then, or remove the gravity and remove the atmosphere in a studio. Yeah, no, nothing here is showing what you think it's showing. It's just bad quality. This is what we in the profession call potato quality footage. And it's all compressed data sent over a radio signal. That's it. But you kept saying that was a flagpole. It's not. It's something he walked in front of. This footage shows that it could not have happened fake. It could not have been faked. It had to have been real. Otherwise, where's the extra reels? Where's the extra footage? Every time you claim independent verification is what you need, you personally prove the moon landings. And I think that's all I need to say.
Thank you for that. We can go to the back and forth if you'd like.
Yeah, no problem. So, Craig, before I ask you some questions about this footage that I'm definitely finna ask you about on this back and forth, because you got a lot of explaining to do by saying that's in front of him. But before we go there, let me ask you this. How did we lose the knowledge to get back to the moon? Because when people ask, why haven't we, when people ask, well, I'm going to ask you in your own words, because I'm putting the answer on you. I want you to give me your own. Why haven't we gone back to the moon?
Money.
Money? Really?
Yeah, after the last moon mission, NASA's budget was slashed severely. They used to get
But
like,
Trump gave
about
them, no, Trump gave NASA, he boosted
no,
their
hold on.
budget.
No, he didn't. Trump cut NASA's
Yes,
budget.
no, Trump.
Even what they get now is a tiny percentage of what they used to get relative to the federal budget. Back in the 60s and the 70s, NASA's budget was like 8 to 10% of the federal budget. Now it's less than 1%. They stopped funding the moon missions, so they didn't go back. But now they are going back. They didn't lose the technology.
So my thing is,
stopped making it, and now they've made new
that don't make sense
and they're
when
going back.
It doesn't make sense when you say it was financially, because since then we've been sending all type of stuff up to space, supposedly the James Webb Telescope and all kind of big projects. So I just don't understand how it's a financial thing. But when you kept bringing up independent verification, I think you was missing my point. I was saying there's a lot of independent people that have verified UFOs, but guess what? I still don't accept aliens as real because I haven't verified it. You see, that was the point that I was making. So I don't, you're right. So my thing is, I don't have to verify
if thousands of people with UFOs.
Well, you haven't showed no proof of that. You've just said that out of your mouth the whole show. You haven't proven anything. You haven't. Well,
don't leave me.
And that's exactly.
And everyone will find out that it's correct.
Cool.
But
so
no,
that's.
Let me answer your question about the James Webb Space Telescope and stuff. Didn't have people on. Didn't need to be engineered to have people on it. It's just a satellite that was put in space, which is a lot cheaper.
But
now.
the amount of money they spent on that was crazy.
And it was less money than they spent on the moon missions. The moon missions were a lot of money because they needed to make it safe for people to be there. You do not need a person on the James Webb Space Telescope. The James Webb Space Telescope, yes, cost a lot of money, but still less money than NASA were getting during the moon missions, because it didn't require a person. What we've been doing is the ISS, which again costs a lot less than the moon missions because it's in low Earth orbit. You don't need to go as far, and we've been doing experiments up there for years instead.
I want to, because we only have a certain amount of time. I don't want to spend it all on the financial part of the mission. I want to go into some of the like technical stuff. Like in space, water behaves differently. This is an image that shows us water doesn't flow in space. You don't have rivers. You have, just, and I'm gonna set this point. I'm gonna ask you a question. So we have globs, water globs in space, basically. So the question I would ask is, because the equipment that they was using was based upon allowing air and water to flow or circulate, which is what we call forming a current. So the equipment that they relied on, the physics required for it to operate, space don't allow for that. So you can't really make water flow through these pipes and flow like a river through here, because the water just gonna tend to glob up. It's just gonna tend, just like the gas is gonna glob up, right? It's gonna, so
let me answer that then.
Go ahead and then we'll go to the footage.
It was in a pressurized system and it had pumps, so it absolutely could flow. It only globs up when there's no forces acting on it because of it has a equipotential energy. Hydrodynamic equilibrium is what it's called, when there's no forces acting on it. You put it in a pressurized system and add a pump making it flow, it's no longer under hydrodynamic equilibrium and will react to the forces acting upon it. There is no reason it would glob up inside a pressurized pipe with a pump pushing it. I'm sorry that you don't understand that very basic thing about
what I don't understand.
The fact is that water reacts to forces acting upon it. The only time it globs up like that is when it's got no forces acting upon it. When it's in a pressurized system, it's got forces acting upon it.
Okay, cool. You can just make it up as you go. The people can decide. They'll see what's going on.
Oh, I'm an engineer. I know how it works.
That don't mean you're an honest person. There are many people okay, so cool. So my thing is right here.
So your argument is calling me a liar, is that right?
So let's move on.
Let's move on with this.
Okay, so the surface of the moon is 250 degrees. Water boils at 212. So I'm guessing that their airtight system saved their water from boiling. Also, Velcro can make something airtight. Duct tape and Velcro can make something airtight. These are the questions I'm asking.
It wasn't duct tape and Velcro. These suits had multiple layers with zips and poppers and airtight, things. Yeah, zips can be airtight. You ever heard of diving suit zips? They're airtight.
Okay,
right?
cool. And okay, during these years, we had fancy airtight suits. But okay, cool.
Yes, they were independently verified. Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Right, and you verified them.
Difference between heat and temperature. That'd be wonderful.
All right, let's spend some time on this footage. We don't want to. We might have to.
I've got a question for you. Can you tell me the difference between heat and temperature?
The time is running out, and I really want to ask you about this footage.
Well, I'd like to ask a question as well.
Oh, you running from me, Craig? Please, we only got 30 seconds, and we haven't addressed. We haven't addressed this footage, Craig.
Can I please ask a question?
Craig, I'm not going to answer it, Craig. I got to spend the time on this flag. Look. I want you to see this flag right here. Watch when he get in front of it. Boom. He's in front of it, but I can still see the flag through him. This is his head. This is his head. Listen. This is now it's potato footage. This is his head glitching out right here. Craig, this is his head right here. I can see the flag square 90-degree angle right here through his head. Through his head. Bro, nothing can make him into a hollow man but chroma key. That's chroma key. His whole head. You think they didn't. You think they didn't. They had technology that can do exactly what it did, because you can't explain how I'm saying a 90-degree. I read my notes. They had blue screen. Go look it up. Just like you told me, go look it up. They had blue screen technology, and they was able to do these effects during that time. They did it in
live real time. I don't think so. No.
You can't explain to me why I'm saying this 90-degree angle through his head, and I'm still looking at the flagpole.
It's really bad footage,
gentlemen.
But at first you said it was in front of him. No, now it's bad footage. Okay, let's go to the next argument. Let's go to the next argument. This cool. It's cool, bro. It's cool.
If you're gonna lie, bro, that's fine. You can lie all you like.
For the other topics, how would you feel about having 14 minutes back and forth so you have a little bit more time?
Well, no, it was just because the first one I was confused on whether it was the back and forth of my or my rebuttal, but that was my fault. I got you now. But we cool. We don't need 14 minutes. He can start the next round. I think it's rotation, gravity. Of them.
Gravity is the next one, and 7 minutes. Each of you have a 7-minute intro, 7-minute rebuttal, then an exchange. So whenever you're ready, I'll start the clock. Craig.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me make sure I've got the right thing sharing on the screen.
And make sure we can see it on our side as well, because I couldn't see the pair of what you were showing to the stream.
Are you seeing the screen now?
I see the graph. Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. So gravity. No, wait. Is this gravity? Yeah, this bit.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Start my timer then. This is where flat Earth uses switches from science to vibes. It's density, buoyancy, magnetism. Cool. Except gravity is directly measured every day by multiple independent technologies. This isn't philosophy. This is instrumentation. What you're seeing here is a cold atom gravimeter measuring gravity with gas. One of the most advanced tools that we have. These devices cool atoms, usually rubidium, down to near absolute zero. You trap them with lasers and you release them. You measure how fast they fall. You're literally watching gravity act on a cloud of gas. No solid object, no buoyancy tricks, no density games, just atoms. You know, it's in a vacuum. From that, you measure the local gravitational acceleration down to parts per billion. If gravity didn't exist, these instruments would read nothing. They don't. They map gravity variations across continents. I can provide the details of this to anybody, and it's actually equipment that one of my friends, PhD Tony's, worked with. So the fact that we can measure that gravity acts on gas shows that gravity is a thing, because then we can just talk about the atmosphere. The atmosphere literally kills any claim of flat Earth and gravity not existing, because at sea level, you have a pressure of 14.7 psi. As you go up, pressure drops. That is called a pressure gradient. Why does that exist? Desert file? Gravity. Gravity pulls air downwards. If there were no force acting downwards, pulling the gas downwards, then, as we all know, high pressure would flow to low pressure and equalize. That's what gases do. And within days, the atmosphere would be uniform. There would not be a gradient. The fact that there is not an upward rushing wind with the high pressure going to low pressure shows that there is a force pulling the atmosphere, the gases of the atmosphere, down, because gravity acts on everything with mass. No gradient, no breathable layer, no weather, no clouds, but we have a stable layered atmosphere. It's not dynamic, it is a stable layered atmosphere. The pressure is higher here than it is here, higher here than it is here. The pressure drops predictably based on the gravitational attraction of Earth. You can calculate what the air pressure should be using Newton's law of gravitational acceleration. And it works out. It matches what we see in the atmosphere. That requires gravity, full stop. Now, every bridge, every skyscraper, every dam, every tunnel is designed using gravitational loading. Engineers calculate dead load, live load, wind load, and seismic load. Gravity is in every single one of those equations. If gravity were fake, then they wouldn't be involved in the equations that engineers use to build structures. Because gravity is real and predictable. If you go to mctoon.net/G, please everyone just do it in your own time. Now bear in mind, this isn't MC Toon's information, this is just links that MC Toon has on his website. And there is at mctoon.net/G countless, well not countless, but a whole lot of measurements of gravity that you can verify yourself. Here's one that Flat Earth can never explain. You weigh different at different latitudes on Earth. At the equator, you weigh slightly less than you do at the poles. Why? Well, there's two reasons. Earth's rotation is the first. Earth's got a bulge, which means that at the equator, you're slightly further away from the center. And because gravity is, inversely proportional to the square of the distance, you are slightly further away from the center of mass, so you weigh slightly less. Also, the fact that the Earth is rotating causes a centrifugal acceleration pushing away from the center at the equator. There's no centrifugal acceleration at the poles because the tangential velocity is zero. This is predicted, this is calculated, and this is measured. If I can just share my screen again, I will show that. So if we go here to Critical Think, who went to Antarctica, and while he was in Antarctica, he did the experiment of measuring some weights. He'd obviously previously measured them when he was in Australia at several different points in Australia, I think in some places in Asia as well. But he measured that these weights that were tested to be an exact weight were different. It measured a different amount when they were at Antarctica than when he was in Australia. You can ask him personally for all the independent data that he collected. It's all documented. He actually live streamed doing this experiment, showing that the weight was a different weight than when he measured it in Australia, because he did actually live stream doing the experiment before he left as well. So the fact that you can literally measure a different weight depending on where you are on Earth is a prediction of Earth's gravitational acceleration, and the fact that Earth has slightly wider at the equator and slightly, the polar circumference is less than the equatorial circumference. So you're going to weigh more at the poles than you do at the equator. And this is shown with experimentation. There's no explanation for this if the Earth is flat. There's absolutely zero reason why you would weigh different. This is why gold is weighed locally. Otherwise, what you could do is just get some gold at the equator, go north and sell it for more. But no, you have to weigh gold locally with a locally calibrated scale. Otherwise you could just literally fool people. Buoyancy is something that requires gravity. That's why there's G in the equation. It literally is a result of the fact there's an acceleration in the opposite way to the buoyant force. This is shown by if you're in a car with a helium balloon, you drive forward, the balloon goes forward because the air moves backward, creating a buoyant force. The buoyant force is in the opposite direction of another force. It's called a reactive force. Gravity creates buoyancy on Earth going up. Submarines are my favorite one. submarines use something called gravity gradient navigation, which literally measures the distribution of mass underwater, like an underwater mountain, to let submarines navigate without using sonar, which means they can stay silent and still do their job. They compare the local gravity measurements that they get to known gravity maps taken from satellites to actually calculate their position. This is something that I have personally verified and used. Bro Sanchez is showing things about buoyancy, which is all an effect of gravity. He obviously doesn't understand clouds. That's why he's sharing during my time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's try to keep your evidences during your own time.
I'm sorry,
So
I didn't
when I-
know that y'all would. I was just getting arming up, getting ready. My bad.
Yep,
I
no
won't-
worries.
Alright.
So your time will start whenever you start talking, and Craig will be on mute for the time.
Okay, he said gravity pulls gases down, but that's not true, because guess what? If gravity pulled gases down, then gravity will keep pulling these clouds all the way down to the ground, and it just won't stop right there. The reason the clouds won't drop no further is because of density. You don't need gravity when you speak density, because density says that if something is less than the medium it's in, it will sink. If it's less dense than the medium it's in, it's going to rise. If it's more dense, it's going to sink. For example, that ping pong ball is going to float because it's less dense than the lamp oil. And the red lamp oil will never fall down into the vegetable oil layer. These are all liquids that's separated by density based upon how dense or least dense the liquid is. And so this explains the layers of the atmosphere without gravity. It's just showing you that, and they say, well, the effects of gravity can be measured. Well, what are we measuring? Is it the effects of gravity or the amount of weight that an object is exerting on the ground as it pressed onto the ground because of its own weight based upon the medium it's in? That would also explain why people weigh different in different parts of the earth, due to the fact that the atmosphere is least dense or more dense in certain areas, and it may slightly affect your weight. So that I mean, just to say that this is all due to gravity is crazy. But before I continue my passage here, I would like to ask Craig one quick question if he's ready. It's just a yes or no.
Sure, but remember, this is your time.
It's just a quick one. I got you. So do you know the formula for gravity?
Yeah, FG equals GM1M2 over R squared.
Okay, thank you. Just making sure. Now watch this. That's all I needed. That's all I need. So the G is fixed constant and the R is distant between objects. So we can test this claim using real world examples. The World Trade Center in New York has an estimated mass of over 1 trillion kilograms. If an 80-kilogram man stands 10 meters away from the building, Newton's formula predicts a measurable horizontal gravitational pull toward the structure. Horizontal, guys, because gravity works in all ways. At 1 meter away, the equation says this pull increases 100-fold. He just said it himself, because he said when you are away from the mass, you experience a sort of weight loss. So this would say that the closer you get to this large mass, the more force of gravity you would feel pulling on you, giving you a more, perceived weight. So if an 80-kilogram man stand next to the World Trade Center, according to Newton, not me. So if you laugh at this, me and you the same, right? According to Newton, this formula predicts a measurable horizontal gravitational pull. At 1 meter away, the equation says that this pull increases 100-fold, approaching over half the strength of the Earth's downward gravity. According to the law, this attraction should be noticeable, measurable, and difficult to resist, yet no one feels themselves being pulled sideways into skyscrapers like magnets. So my thing is this right here, right? People will say that gravity, mass attracts mass, but they forget the horizontal pull of gravity. Take that same man to Switzerland. If he climbing the north face of a massive mountain, according to Newtonian gravity, as the distance between the climber and the mountain approaches zero, the gravitational force should skyrocket. If gravity behaved the way it's claimed, falling would be impossible. The climber should cling to the rock face like a magnet to a refrigerator, but that's not reality. Now here's the rebuttal he's gonna make. This is because gravity does not behave like magnetism, despite the equation implying that it should. But his answer is going to be the center of the earth. When these contradictions are pointed out, gravity defenders suddenly claim gravity only pulls toward the center of the earth. But this is a double standard. Newton's law explicitly states that all objects attract each other, not just planets. Even mainstream explanations admit that gravity comes from the entire mass of an object, not just its center. The center is merely a mathematical simplification. So gravity can't selectively turn off horizontal attraction when it becomes inconvenient. Gravity is accredited with two completely opposite effects. On Earth, gravity allegedly causes everything, the ash, the oceans, the atmosphere, and all of that to stick firmly to the globe. But in space, the same force causes objects to orbit indefinitely instead of colliding. So we're told this happens because gravity perfectly balances inertia just right forever. Yet there's not a single experiment in history where two objects have been shown to lock into perpetual orbit. This behavior is conveniently limited to objects so massive we can't test them, which is another double standard. He says that gravity is always pulling gases downward, but that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson chose to drop a mic and not a helium balloon, because I know he's saying gravity pull gases downward, but he's not proving it. So the thing is, if gravity is pulling gases downward, what?
50 seconds.
Think about this. Let's look at Newtonian theories from another perspective. Let's say that the apple that fell on Newton fell into some water. He would have saw the apple fall through the air and float on top of water due to density, not gravity. That's why a bubble in the water can escape and float up to the surface, but gravity is pulling gases down. But the bubble in the water, somehow it goes opposite of where gravity is pulling it. He need another force to play tug of war with gravity, but there are not two forces, one pulling down, one pulling up. It's just the law of density, and if I'm heavier than the medium I'm in, I'm sink. If I'm lighter, I float. Pointing out a natural phenomenon as proof. So, well, I'll land right there. That's my time. That's my time. Yeah. So it's the back and forth.
No, so it's time for the rebuttals.
Rebuttals. Gotcha.
Yeah, so.
Oh, okay. This is very, very easy. I know bro didn't do the maths, but I did. So if you do FG equals GM1M2A squared for a man, average weight man, and the building that he was talking about, the attractive force between the two would be 0 at 1 meter, right? If 1 meter away from the building, the attractive force towards the building would be 0.002 newtons. You go a mile away, it's 0.000000007 newtons. You're not going to feel that. That's far too small for you to even register that that's happening. That's not even a slight breeze. It's literally a speck of dust, even less than that, touching you. Now, however, we have measured horizontal attraction. An experiment called the Schehallien experiment in Scotland used what is known as the most symmetrical mountain in the world, Mount Schehallien, to literally measure the horizontal attraction between a plumb bob and the mountain, showing that the Earth is the main thing that's pulling down, but of course the mountain also has an attraction, and they calculated what the attraction between the mountain and the pendulum was, showing that there is a sideways acceleration. It's a lot less than on Earth, than the Earth is creating, but it is there. Like I said, between the man and the building, 0.002 newtons at 1 meter away. Bro said that there has to be another force. Correct. That's called the force of buoyancy. As I explained, buoyancy acts in the opposite direction to gravity. Very, very simple. So let's take a helium balloon, which will go up as you let it go. We know that. Why? Because of the force of buoyancy. The force of buoyancy is acting in the opposite direction to gravity because the mass, if you take the volume of the balloon and then the volume of the air around it, the air has more mass, more density than the volume in the balloon. Therefore, the air around it is pulled down with a stronger force. The acceleration is the same, but because the mass is more, because, you know, F equals ma, the air around it is pulled down with a stronger force than the balloon, which creates a counter force in the opposite direction called buoyancy. Bro's absolutely correct. You need another force. That force is called buoyancy. What is the formula for buoyancy? Rho GV. That G, and that stands for gravity, the acceleration due to gravity. So Bro kind of debunked himself twice because, yes, there is a horizontal acceleration, literally measured. Thank you, Sahelian. And Cavendish literally shows that there's a horizontal acceleration. And buoyancy is the other force that he was saying there needs to be. Thank you for explaining how there needs to be another force to act against gravity. Clouds, no, they're not gas, they're water droplets. Buoyancy and air currents hold them up. But what happens when they get too dense? Oh, that's right. The buoyancy and the air currents are overcome by the mass and the density, and it rains. So clouds, once again, explain gravity and do what gravity predicts them to do. Everything about gravity is measured constantly. Density is not a force. Density can't do anything on its own. So he's talking about the density tower with the ping pong ball at the top. Great. Take that density tower on a vomit comet. Anyone just go up and look at the video now. Density tower on a vomit comet. What happens when the vomit comet begins its parabolic arc and the net gravitational acceleration inside that plane becomes zero? That density tower disappears because there is no force organizing the density of those layers. They don't just organize themselves magically for no reason. There has to be a mechanism arranging the densities. That mechanism is created by gravity. That's why when you counter out gravity by being on a vomit comet, that density tower disappears. Everything that Bro presented there debunks him, debunks his own claims about gravity without him knowing it. And the reason at the beginning I brought up my degree in physics and my degree in engineering is because I have a practical knowledge of how the world works. I don't just believe what I'm told. I have tested these things. I measured gravity personally to test if it was there. I had to pass my degree. It's literally a measurement that can be done by anyone with an ounce of intelligence. You don't even have to be that smart to do a Cavendish experiment. You can even calculate the gravitational acceleration by dropping a pencil and measuring how fast it accelerates. That's really not a hard thing to do. The thing is that gravity predicts everything about what we see happening that we say is due to gravity. It matches the predictions every time. Bro said that gravity should act like magnetism. No, not in the slightest. Gravity is an attractive force. There is zero repulsive force involved in gravity. Magnetism includes repulsive forces, which don't exist in gravity. So the claim that gravity should act like magnetism is a misunderstanding of everything around physics. So basically everything Bro did there was debunk himself, not understand physics, not understand density and why it does what it does, and then debunk himself again. So I think that's a perfect rebuttal to everything that he said. Once again, the attractive force between the man and the building that he was describing is 0.002 newtons when you do the math. He didn't do the math. He said, here's a formula, and this is what this formula should say, without actually doing any of the math. I did the math whilst he was talking. 0.002 newtons. That is, you wouldn't even register that. You know, that is less than a speck of dust hitting you. It is so small that it is completely negligible to every other force that is acting. A bit of wind would overcome that. There would be no way to measure that because it is so small. You use extremely precise scientific equipment to measure a gravitational acceleration. Recently, there was a Cavendish experiment done on the millimeter scale using gold balls, showing that even at the micro scale, The gravitational attraction of Fg equals G M1 M2 over R squared does exactly what we predict it to do. Measurements disagree with everything that Brother Sanchez has said. I can present measurements. Brother Sanchez can present vibes. I win.
Thank you for that, Craig.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Reminder, this is your rebuttal time.
Right. So when it comes to measurements, me dropping a pencil and seeing how fast that it falls to the ground don't prove gravity. Because if I say that a force called gravity is pulling the pencil down to the ground and I drop the pencil and the pencil falls to the ground, that doesn't prove the force called gravity. It just proves that the pencil dropped to the ground. If I say that the sun is going to rise in the morning because a mysterious evil force called Satan is going to make it rise, and the sun rises in the morning, does that prove my evil mysterious force? Or does it just prove that the sun rises? Don't let this man fool y'all. That's trickery that he's doing. So watch this right, y'all. He said that, let me go back to my screen share with my density in the cup one more time. He said, if I put this on a vomit comet, then everything will be messed up and disoriented. You won't have these perfect, beautiful layers. He's right. But guess what? Last time I checked, the globe Earth was a vomit comet. He's trying to prove, right, that if I was to take this right here and put it in motion, the objects won't be able to settle into their respectful layers. Yet he says the Earth is in motion and the atmosphere layers are able to settle into their respected layers. So he gave y'all a bunch of gases on a vomit comet. He put them in perfect, beautiful layers like this cup, then turned around and said that if you set this stuff on a vomit comet, it won't be like this. So he just debunked his globe model. He just debunked his model, y'all. He put his gases on a vomit comet. I'm the one proving that the gases are on a stationary plane and they would settle as such. It's not because gravity is pulling the stuff down, because gravity would pull that ping pong ball down to the honey layer where the boat at. Gravity wouldn't respect layers. Gravity don't exist. You said density can't stand on its own, but you admitted before that gravity needs buoyancy. Density don't need neither one of them. So gravity is the one that can't stand on its own, because it only explains why things drop and not why they rise. Why density explains why they rise and fall, and it don't need gravity or buoyancy. It's a simple law. It's not a theory, and the law is demonstrated with this example that I got here. The cherry tomato won't drop from its layer because it's less dense than the milk beneath it, and is more dense than the water above it. So it's trapped in the dish soap layer, right? It's that simple. Did I ever use a word called gravity or buoyancy? Nope, I'm explaining the law of density independently of using two forces playing tug of war with each other. So once gravity start playing tug of war with buoyancy, the question is, who decides which one wins? And his science will tell you, well, gravity loses if the object is very light. Then that's when buoyancy wins. And if the object is very heavy, then gravity wins. Well, you tell.
I think the host is left, but I don't know what's happened. That Emily's dropped out. I don't want to have without a moderator. Can we just pause for 1 second and see if we can get Emily back in?
Long as you don't make any rebuttal arguments, I'll pause.
No,
yeah.
I'm not going
okay,
to.
cool.
I
had about like I had like 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I think it was about that, but I'm not sure. But give me 1 sec. I know they've had some very bad weather where they are. So let me just.
No, that's just that butt whipping. That's all. Just a good old. Let me quit, man. This truth messed the host up.
Right, okay, you're coming back. Okay, do you remember how long bro had left?
Like 3 minutes. Yeah,
it was see, that's messed up, man. That is messed up. Let me get.
Are you just joining back in the thing so I can make you host again?
And put me like 4 minutes on the clock.
Right. Give when you come back, give bro 4 minutes, okay?
yeah.
That's what's up.
So apparently their cat turned off the computer.
I won't speak till she come back. Maybe we can play some music or something.
As long as it's not one of your raps, that's cool.
You don't like rap?
I like good rap, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
my
man.
raps are pretty good. Right, here they come back. 1 second.
Hey, my
Right,
cat came up and turned off my computer. I'm so
Cats are
sorry.
assholes. Right, I'm making you host again so I don't have any powers. There we go. It's all back over to you. I know it's about 3 minutes, but could you please put 4 minutes back on the timer for bro?
Yes, I can. 1 second. Timer. Yes.
So listen,
Yeah.
the clouds, you still, and make sure, and thank you, Emily, for sharing my screen on your side
Yep.
too. I don't want you to forget to show them on your end what I'm sharing too.
Yep.
So watch this, guys. These clouds will not drop in their gaseous form. Craig was deceptive. Of course, when the clouds turn into, when enough gas vapors come together to form a single droplet, then that droplet of water becomes dense enough to fall through the air around it. But the cloud as a gas will never drop beneath this invisible shelf. The cloud is like a soap sud sitting on bath water, which is why it has a bottom. The bottom of it is flat and the top of it is puffy. There's an invisible shelf there that the cloud can't drop beneath as a gas. And I don't know why gravity just can't keep pulling it down to the ground. It got to become water. That ain't what we talking about. We was talking about, your words was gravity pull gases down. We know it pulls water down too, but you specifically said gases, which why I brought up the clouds, and I want to know why gravity just stopped right here. There's an obstruction or something perhaps, but the thing is this. When you say we can measure the pull of gravity, we can measure the velocity by which things fall, their acceleration toward the earth. If I say that something called gravity is pulling stuff down to the ground and I drop some on the ground, that don't prove gravity. You can't prove the phenomena with the phenomena. You have to have an explanation and proof to back your explanation, right? I can't say, well, there's a invisible monster pulling objects to the ground and then drop a pen and say, see, look at that invisible monster, right? That's not proof. That's pointing out a phenomena that we all experience. And when you say gravity did it, you need to prove gravity, not just repeat the phenomena. Y'all don't let them dupe y'all like that. So again, let me repeat your hypocrisy. You said density can't stand alone, but I just demonstrated that it does. The same reason those clouds won't fall down to the ground is the same reason that ping pong ball won't fall to its layer. It's the same reason the rubbing alcohol won't fall into the vegetable oil. Yeah, if we put this on a vomit comet, it'll just mix everything up. But once you make it stationary and let the stuff be able to settle and relax, it'll make these same pattern right again. It'll form the same thing. So the layers of our atmosphere have been the same for eons. They've been perfectly, you just said it, how perfectly layered they are. And if the earth was moving, which is what a vomit coming doing, then the layers of the atmosphere won't be able to be perfectly layered like you just explained. You debunking yourself, Craig. Come on now, man. So check this out. You saying that we can measure, when we was talking about horizontal gravity, we can measure it, but I can't feel it. That's crazy. And they measuring it very sensitive scientific technology that all of us don't got. So they can measure it and say, well, the building is pulling you toward it, but you just can't feel it. But my super duper duper instrument that you don't have, it says it is. Is that science or belief? You keep pointing out degrees and all that ain't doing no proving or nothing, because there are people with degrees that still don't, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying, because I know you get offended, but there are people with degrees that don't tell the truth. Your degree don't make you an honest person. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if you're just being intentionally dishonest, or maybe you paid for those degrees, or Our education system fail you because the stuff that I'm saying can be tested too. I've tested mine too. And we both just claiming we've done the test. You haven't proved your stuff. I'm proving mine right
Try
here.
to finish it up. Yep.
So, okay, was that the clock?
That was the time. Yeah. Finish your thought. So we can go to the back and forth.
Okay, it's time for the back and forth. Okay,
Yes, but you
so
can finish your thought.
no, we can go ahead and go to the back and forth. I ain't gonna prolong it. We can go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, bro, quick question. Do you think clouds are made of gas?
I'm gonna ask you a quick question. What are they made of?
No, don't answer a question
What-
with a
what
question.
are-
Do you
what
think
are
that
they-
clouds are made of gas?
Yes, I think that clouds are made of gas,
No, they're made of water droplets, mate. There's no gas in clouds.
vapor,
I don't know
water
why you would
vapors,
think
water
that.
vapors,
Yeah. No,
water.
it's not water vapor. No, it's not
Water
water
vapor.
vapor.
So clouds are. So let me ask you a question. Is a raindrop a water droplet?
Yes.
Is it the same as this cloud?
Yes.
So this cloud is a bunch of raindrops in a puff ball.
Correct. Yes. There
And
is no
and
gas
so
in a
so
cloud.
let me
Just-
ask you a
just so
question.
know,
I
it is a
got you.
fact.
Okay, so
Okay,
okay, finish what you're saying. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I already explained buoyancy is a result of gravity, and because the weight of those water droplets is so little compared to the mass around them, the buoyant force overcomes gravity. Also, up there, there's air currents, etc., which allow the clouds to stay in the air until they gather too much mass and the water droplets get bigger and bigger and overcome the force of buoyancy, and gravity once again becomes the bigger force. No, Earth is not a vomit comet. It's moving in a predictable, continuous trajectory. A vomit comet goes up and then down in a parabolic arc, specifically countering the gravitational acceleration of Earth. So your premise of Earth being a vomit comet is just false.
It's just
now
me
I've
putting
got
the
one
Earth in
very good
motion.
question for you.
Hold on. It's
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm just interjecting. I'm just be fair.
Okay,
When
carry
I
on,
brought
carry
it,
on.
I'll be quick. When I brought up the vomit comet, it was simply to use. The reason you brought it up was simply to show motion, because it don't gotta be
No,
a
it wasn't.
vomit.
It wasn't. It was to
Well,
counterbalance.
let me make my point. The point that you was making was that if you disturb this glass, you can't have this. Whether you use a
No,
vomit,
it wasn't that if you disturb
you
it.
got
That
you
was
gotta
wrong.
let
You
me
missed my point.
land so we
Yeah.
can move forward. So the point was to set this thing in motion so that the layers won't be settled, and you don't have to. Let me finish though. Just let me finish though. You can correct me when I'm done, because I don't know what point. You can tell me what point you was making, but whether you use a vomit comet, a roller coaster, or whatever you use to disturb these layers, that was the point. So what point was you making if you weren't trying to show how?
It's not about motion, it's about removing the gravitational acceleration. When you are in the vomit comet and you do the parabolic arc, as soon as you stop accelerating up, the gravitational acceleration is cancelled out. So it's not the fact that you're moving, it's the fact that the parabolic arc of the vomit comet cancels out the gravitational acceleration because of the parabolic arc that it does. It's not the motion, it's the arc cancelling out the gravitational acceleration.
So let me be clear.
That's why people float when they're in the vomit comet, because the gravitational acceleration within that vomit comet has been cancelled out by the movement.
I got you. I get your point.
Incorrect.
So watch this. So what was your point for bringing up the vomit comet in relation to this, just for clarity?
Like I've just said, the vomit comet removes the downward acceleration, removes the force created by gravity.
Why do we need to remove the downward acceleration when I was explaining density in this case?
Density is only arranged when there is a downward force acting because of the gravitational acceleration. Once you cancel out that gravitational acceleration, there is no
okay, I got you. So then,
my question.
Hold on. So we're going back and forth, but this the back and forth.
I've got
and he's been talking for the last 2 minutes. Real talk. He's been talking. Yeah, ask your question. Go ahead.
Right. In your world, what mechanism is allowing the density to arrange the things. You keep saying it's density.
That's what I was finna explain anyway.
Why
So
Okay.
you might as well. I was just gonna explain that anyway. So you should have just let me go. So here's what I was saying. In your world, you were saying the downward pull of gravity is arranging this stuff like that, but the downward pull of gravity would also pull the ping pong ball all the way down too. That was my point. Hold on. You tried to. You also tried. It's my turn to respond, though. You gotta let me do it. Just like I did for you the past minute. It's a back and forth. So the clouds, you said that they are vapors. Helium is a gas. The layer, you said that I said they were vapor. You said they were water droplets. That's right. So you said that they are water droplets. But that don't change the fact that the layers of the atmosphere you mentioned are gases. I don't have to debate you about the clouds being water droplets. If the layers of the atmosphere are gases, and they are perfectly layered just like this cup, then guess what? My point still stand. Now here's what I want to say about density in this cup, and I'll land here. Density is not arranging anything. All of the objects are arranging themselves based upon their own weight and perspective in relation to the medium they're in. I'm about to go into it right now. I'm about to show you.
Let him finish.
The honey is at the bottom because it is the heaviest liquid in the cup. The corn syrup is above the honey because it's the second less heaviest, and so far as you go up in liquids. All of the objects that you see from the boat to the cherry tomato have their own density levels too, and when you drop them in a cup, they will fall and get trapped in their respected layer based upon the same law. Ain't nothing pulling nothing, ain't nothing pushing nothing. Things are just settling in their respected layer based upon a universal law. It ain't a tug of war match. It ain't a tug of war match.
Okay, so the reason why the ping pong ball is sitting on the top is because buoyancy. So a density tower is just liquid stacked by density in a gravitational field. Each liquid settles where its weight per volume matches the pressure below it, and that's due to gravity. Each liquid in that layer has a different density, mass per volume. So that's when you take in the equation of buoyancy, rho GV, which is to do with the the density of the liquid and the displacement of the liquid, along with the acceleration due to gravity acting downwards. The ping pong ball, its mass is so little that the mass of the liquid is being pulled down with a stronger force than the ping pong ball, which creates a buoyant force in the opposite direction.
Yep.
That's why the equation is rho GV. That G stands for the gravitational acceleration. Heavier per volume sinks lower, lighter per volume floats higher, but here's the key. They only sink and float because gravity is pulling them down.
Sure.
Density doesn't do anything on its own. Weight doesn't do anything on its own. Weight is literally defined as mass times gravity. That is what weight is. Weight is mass times gravity. So if you say weight, you are admitting
That was
that
the
No,
time.
you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. That's semantics. That's semantics.
it's not. What's the
Straight up
equation for
semantics.
weight?
Straight up
What's the
semantics.
equation for
Just because you have an equation that has
Gentlemen?
weight, just because your equation accounts for a force that's not there, don't make your equation right when you're proving a force by actually dropping stuff and saying, look at the way it measure the acceleration toward the earth. That's the strength of gravity. Like, it's like,
Final
again,
thoughts, please. Yes, that was the
I'll
time.
allow him to go back and forth with that last part a minute. I don't mind sparring with him, but if
Yep.
y'all want, we can just move to the next one. It doesn't matter to me.
I'm just giving you a reminder. But if you wanted to finish up your final thoughts, you can.
Yeah, so what I was saying was this right here, Craig. You got to have two forces, but you told me density can't stand alone. Now watch this. Buoyancy is the force that is acting counter to gravity. So it's explaining why things rise. So you're telling me buoyancy, unlike gravity gravity is pulling this boat down, but buoyancy is winning the tug of war battle against gravity when it comes to that ping pong ball. And that's what I was saying. And that's what I was saying earlier about gravity is so strong until you tell it to pull on something weak, which is a contradiction. It's like having a strong man that can't lift a feather, but he can lift a car. Like gravity can pull this big old boat down to the bottom, but the but the less something weigh, then the less gravity pulls on it. But that's a way to explain around the fact that there's a law called density that don't need two forces playing tug of war, and I explained it perfectly without the tug of war battle. I'm showing the flaws of the tug of war battle. I showed you that things just fall and settle in their respected layers based upon how much they weigh in relation to the medium they're in. And you saying, well, I can't use the word weight because the equation that some Newton made has gravity and has it. The equation Newton made for weight has gravity. I can make my own equation.
What Newton made, no.
Well, whatever you're saying about, because I forgot what you said. I'm just making something up, but I know you said something about.
The definition of weight is mass times gravity. That is literally what weight is.
What I'm saying is the definition doesn't debunk none of the stuff that I just said. It's proving how a man defines the word weight. I can make my own definition of weight right now that'll be in association with what I'm saying. So to try, yes, it will. Yes, it will. Because here's.
Right, do the maths then.
Okay, watch this, right? Using someone's definition of love doesn't mean that their definition of love is the end all be all. What I'm saying is he's playing a semantic game. If I say, well, this is love right here, well, the definition says that, but look at the facts I'm presenting, not the semantics, not how one man defined it. What I'm saying is if buoyancy is pulling the ping pong ball to the top and gravity is pulling the boat down, gravity lost that tug of war battle against buoyancy when it comes to the ping pong ball. And if gravity is the strongest force, it shouldn't be losing this tug of war battle because the ping pong ball weighs less than the boat that gravity just pulled down. So that's what I'm showing you, the flaws in your theory. And when you have this tug of war battle, when you have this tug of war battle between buoyancy and gravity, there's going to be flaws, and I'm pointing them out versus me just showing you the law of density of things settling in their respective layers with nothing pulling or pushing on them. Like, I'm not saying that there's a force pulling the ping pong ball up. You are. I'm saying that the ping pong ball is falling through the air and it stopped on top of the lamp oil because it can't penetrate that barrier because it's not more dense than it. Simple. I'm using density alone. But you can speak, you can say what you want, and we'll move to the next one. You can get the last word on that, and we can move on, because we got to get out of here.
You said needs gravity. You can. It's not me defining weight.
It doesn't. It doesn't need gravity at all. It doesn't. It doesn't need. It doesn't need at all.
That is what weight is.
Let him finish,
so I
bro.
can get the last word, and then you started talking weird. That is literally what weight is. Weight is mass times gravity. Buoyancy is rho GV, which is including gravity. You remove the downward acceleration, like in the vomit comet, that density tower disappears, proving empirically that you need a downward acceleration for the arrangement of densities to exist, because buoyancy is a reactive force to gravity. Remove gravity, it stops existing.
Thank you. The final topic would be rotation. Who wanted?
Can we take a quick 2-minute break so I can use the ablution?
And then when you come back, you can start us off on that one.
No, it's your turn to start on this one.
Or we can do a coin flip.
You start on rotation. All right, I'll be back in just
no
2
problem.
seconds, okay?
I'll start. You need a downward force.
So just wait for him to come back, please. I'm gonna give my cat.
Okay, right. Thank you for the super chats we're getting on YouTube, guys. Hopefully at the end, if you've got any questions for Bro, I'm sure Bro will be happy to answer them for you. So just get those super chats in if you've got a question for Barbara Sanchez or myself, or even for Emily.
I'll play it by ear. I'm kind of pressing for time, but I'm gonna I'll see if I can take a couple of questions at the end from the people, but we'll see. But I'm ready to start the rotation debate though.
Yeah. Just quickly, you said I paid for my degrees. Well, it was actually the opposite. The Royal Navy.
I don't really want to waste time with that, because I didn't say you did. I said some people did. I was just being funny. I didn't never personally say any of that to you, because I know how you get, Craig, man, for real talk. But so I ain't gonna personally address nothing to you, just to keep from us getting into a childish riff-raff little scuffle here, just to stay on top of the stay on topic. I'm ready for the next portion.
Yep. Tim, we'll start when you start talking.
Let me screen share first, and we can go ahead and start now. So, if the Earth is a spinning sphere rotating 1,000 miles per hour easily, then the ground, the oceans, and the atmosphere is all perfectly synced and phase locked, like we're being taught, right? It's moving together as a single rotating system. I'm actually screen sharing what we should. There we go. So that's the claim, but when you observe the clouds, the claim breaks down. Stand outside your house, watch the sky. Clouds pass over you, not with you. So let me actually play this one here too.
Oh, I didn't have my phone.
Let me play this one here. Can we get everyone's muted? Mike's muted. I'm hearing someone's background, and it's kind of cutting into my time too. So if the ground were rotating beneath a fully synchronized atmosphere, then you wouldn't see clouds drifting independently across your roof line. Your house would be moving with the same rotational momentum as the air above it. The clouds would appear largely stationary relative to you, just like the air inside a sailed aircraft moving at cruising speed. But that's not what we observe. Instead, clouds routinely move in different directions at different speeds, sometimes even opposite to the claimed direction of Earth's rotation. And this isn't a matter of local weather, because all weather exists inside the same atmosphere they insist is already rotating with the Earth. You don't get to invoke independence after claiming synchronization. And that's what he's going to have to do if he addressed this point, y'all. You can't have it both ways. If the atmosphere were truly locked to the rotating Earth, it would behave like a closed system. Yet clouds shear, stall, reverse, and drift relative to the surface as if the ground is stationary and the air is not. That means either the atmosphere is not locked, in which case constant eastward motion should produce measurable, persistent effects at all altitudes, or the Earth itself is not rotating beneath it. The globe model requires perfect inheritance of rotational momentum, but real-world observation shows relative motion, not shared motion. And once relative motion is admitted, the entire premise of a uniformly spinning Earth collapses under its own assumptions. You don't need equations to see it. You just need to look up and notice that the sky is moving while the ground is not. So in the case of Foucault's pendulum, proving that the Earth is rotating, in the mid-19th century, Leon Foucault swung a pendulum and declared it proof that the Earth rotates beneath it. Ever since, museums have displayed Foucault pendulums and supposed perpetual evidence of a spinning globe. So they use these pendulums as a proof of a globe, but the claim collapses under scrutiny because Foucault pendulums do not behave uniformly. Some rotate clockwise, some rotate counterclockwise. I wonder, is he gonna bring that up? Others barely rotate at all. Some rotate too much If the Earth were a rotating, think about this, y'all. If the Earth was rotating at a constant, uniform rate beneath every pendulum, these inconsistencies should exist. Let me calm down. I'm trying to rush my self. Does the Earth rotate in different directions at the same time, depending on location? Because that is what the pendulum behavior implies. These pendulums around the world aren't consistent, and the inconsistencies are crazy different, man. And like, what is the Earth doing? So, secondly, scientists who repeat these experiments, right? They have admitted a critical flaw, that it's extremely difficult to start a pendulum without introducing lateral bias. And that's probably what his excuse is going to be. In other words, the motion depends heavily on how the pendulum is released. But it shouldn't be that way. It should depend on what the Earth is doing, not what the original person did when they set it in motion. It should sync to the Earth's motion. So thirdly, the design itself, if you think about this, if Earth rotation were truly responsible for this effect, the pendulum would not need to be carefully started at all. He's going to spend a lot of time trying to explain why they have to start it with their hands and all that, and why they need electricity in some of them. The design itself is suspect. The ball and socket joint used in Foucault's pendulum is a mechanism that naturally facilitates circular motion. It does that naturally. That alone introduces rotation, independent of any alleged motion of the Earth, and that explains why all of these pendulums are inconsistent. The pendulum's behavior depends on the initial force applied, and he's going to emphasize that. They can't start by themselves, but yet if I put a pendulum on a moving merry-go-round, it will definitely move accordingly without me having to touch it. Fourth, most modern Foucault pendulums aren't even faithful reproductions. Many are electrically driven and mechanically adjusted to maintain motion. Calling these displays proof is misleading at best.
You have a minute.
If Earth's constant rotation causes pendulums to rotate, then every pendulum on Earth should rotate, yet countless pendulums remain stationary, and that goes for the cranes that's just sitting at the construction sites too. Oh, they need me to go touch it for them to move. Oh, that's right. So Dr. Samuel Robotham addressed this long ago. He noted that the plane of vibration is inconsistent, changing in rate, direction, and magnitude even at the same location. Something inconsistent cannot serve as evidence for a universal physical law. So how much time do I got? 20 seconds. So let me see here. Lady Blount went further, calling the pendulum demonstration a theatrical deception, an exhibit that relies more on public trust than scientific rigor. Shout out to Lady Blount for that. That's true. Her and Dr. Samuel Robotham.
And that is your time. Thank you for that. It'll be Craig's time to start his intro. And whenever you're ready, the clock will start.
As I said in my opener, no, there's literally no reason that the pendulum would start by itself. That would violate the conservation of energy. It would be perpetual motion. It would be magic. You just claiming it should sync up with the Earth is just your misunderstanding of physics. No, the pendulums do not mysteriously start. They're started by humans. Carefully. If you do the experiment correctly, and it's not a ball and socket, it's a pivot point. If you do the experiment correctly and you do not introduce any rotation yourself, you do get different results wherever you are on the Earth, which is what you expect. The pendulum should not drift uniformly. Physics and Coriolis says that the pendulum will drift a different amount depending on your latitude, because the swing stays relative to the Earth's axial tilt and the way that it was started. So if you do it at the North Pole or the South Pole, it will literally be in alignment with Earth's axial tilt and do one rotation in 24 hours. If you do it at the equator, it's perpendicular to Earth's axial tilt, so it will show no Coriolis, because at the equator there is zero Coriolis. What you can do when you do the experiment correctly is calculate your latitude using Foucault's sine law, which is what the globe predicts. The problem is that Brother Sanchez doesn't know what the globe model says should happen. The globe model says that a pendulum should drift differently depending on your latitude. And you can use the drift of the pendulum to calculate your latitude on Earth. So let me just share my screen and show this. Where is it? This one here. Where was it? This is a gentleman physicist who did his own Foucault pendulum. There is no motor, there is no anything. Not all of them do. So the electromagnetic motor is just to keep it swinging. It doesn't change the direction. When the gentleman physicist did his experiment, he released it with a like this. A way to not introduce any rotation into it. It just swung backwards and forwards, went through this ink pad, and it went for about 45 minutes. The line is being drawn by the pendulum swinging backwards and forwards. In the northern hemisphere, it goes counterclockwise. In the southern hemisphere, it goes clockwise, which is what the globe predicts. So after, I think it was 43 minutes, it allowed it to, clockwise in the northern hemisphere, counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere. And after 45 minutes, it was an angle of 7.89 degrees. Now, what he did was used Foucault's sine law and found out his latitude. And then when you do the experiment properly, that's what you can do, because that's what the globe predicts. The globe doesn't say that it should start swinging on its own. Put a pendulum on a merry-go-round, swinging it, rotating it once per day. It's not going to sync up to the merry-go-round. There's no reason it should. Brother Sanchez is simply misunderstanding how physics works because he's never studied physics. I will once again bring up my physics degree because I've practically demonstrated that I can use my physics degree. Physics disagrees with everything that Brother Sanchez says. It's not holes in the globe model. It's Sanchez not understanding the globe model. The fact that you can use a pendulum to calculate your latitude on Earth independently. There is no electromagnetics or anything in this. He calculated his latitude for nothing but the angle created from the drift of the pendulum. That's all he did. He got that angle from how much it drifted over the 0.69 hours, which is about 43 minutes, I think, right? And then he calculated his latitude. I did that personally in Bristol, University West of England, during my physics degree. In my first year, I think it was the third month, actually. And you can literally use the fact that Coriolis is different at different latitudes to calculate your latitude using the swinging pendulum. All the claims he made about pendulums not working properly is him not understanding what pendulums are. There is zero evidence of them ever reversing direction. That's just a claim that's been made and has never been demonstrated. Samuel Robotham wasn't a doctor either. That's one thing. He was just a flat earth idiot. Pendulums do exactly what the globe predicts. The globe predicts a different drift wherever you are. North Pole, South Pole, one rotation would take 24 hours. At the equator, it wouldn't drift at all because at the equator there is zero Coriolis. Okay, so how long have I got? 2 minutes 14. Let me quickly address the clouds thing. Yeah, the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth. However, there are low areas of pressure and higher areas of pressure in the atmosphere, which, as we know, fluids flow from high to low. So even though the atmosphere is in total rotating with the Earth, within that rotation, there are individual movements of pressure going from low to high. Two systems can exist at the same time. Storm systems rotate with the Earth. The fact that no hurricane in existence has ever managed to cross the equator, they die if they do, because hurricanes are fed by the rotation of the Earth. The Coriolis force causes storms to spin. One way in the northern hemisphere, another way in the southern hemisphere. But when they get to the equator, the storms die instantly because there is no Coriolis force to keep feeding the storm when you're at the equator. Clouds are in the atmosphere, which has dynamic, winds and stuff going left and right. That's naturally what happens within the atmosphere because of temperature. It changes the pressure. High goes to low. But in those storm systems, they are also rotating with the Earth. Very much like when a plane is flying, that plane is still rotating with the Earth whilst moving relative to the ground. It's it's called relative motion. Both of these things can exist at the same time. Brother Sanchez's insistence that it has to be completely in lockstep 100% all of the time is Brother Sanchez not understanding any kind of fluid dynamics or any kind of physical predictions that a rotating globe says. He cannot debunk the globe by misunderstanding the globe. He cannot debunk the globe by getting things wrong about the globe. He cannot debunk the globe if he doesn't understand the physics behind it. And that is the problem with all flat earthers. They haven't a clue what they are talking about. They only have vibes and feelings.
Before it's time, before we get to the next one, I gotta take care of my cat because he will start destroying things in just a second.
Okay, no worries.
And this is the rebuttal part?
Yes, but give me one moment. My cat is.
Okay, well, I won't be able to do any take calls from the people at the end. We're going to, right after the debate, I got to go, but yeah.
No worries. I just gotta put him in a room because otherwise he will be destroying everything.
Do your thing. No problem.
Yeah. This is the asshole who turned off my computer.
There's just one quick question from the audience. How's your rap career going?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
You asking me? I was reading my chat. I'm sorry. How's my rap career going? Yeah, I don't have a rap career. I'm not a rapper. I just rap. You know what I'm saying? It's like
You're not a rapper, but you do rap, right?
I'm not a professional
stuff,
rapper. I just do it as like a hobby, so I wouldn't call it a career because I don't make no money from it. I do it for fun. You know what I'm saying? I don't pursue it as any kind of capital gain or nothing. I just do it to get my message out, to kind of make the youth kind of think differently about the streets and all that. I used to be kind of more vulgar with my lyrics, but I cleaned it up a lot of stuff. I try to put a positive message out. But that's where I'm at with that. Y'all ready for it?
Yep. Whenever you start talking, your time will start.
And this is my rebuttal, his rebuttal. Then we got a back and forth, right? Just making sure for clarity. Cool. I'm ready. So
whenever you start.
The thing he's saying that I don't understand the globe, but I was telling y'all what he was going to do before he did it. I told you that he would try to claim it both ways, that the atmosphere is in synchronicity with the ground, but he would still try to have independence within that. See, the atmosphere is what we're talking about, the entire blanket as a collective. Now, it's like the blanket on my bed. I can open it up and there are many layers of that blanket. If I'm rotating that blanket, all of the layers are moving together. Now, my whole thing is this right here. He's explaining his model in a way to where it's kind of like he's claiming both ways. That's exactly what he's doing. I knew he would do that. And him claiming both ways is him saying, I don't understand the model. And he's trying to be all throwing his degrees up. And that's what I'm saying about degrees. They are not proof. Critical thinking is. He can sound smarter by presenting his degrees. I think the smart person is the one that's questioning what they've been told to make sure it's true. Because if y'all do that, you will see the flaws in it. As far as Foucault pendulum, he keep on saying that, you know, they supposed to move differently. I didn't disagree with that. According to his model, they should have different angles and all that when they're moving. But the speeds shouldn't be drastically different. There should be not huge drastic differences in the consistency with speed when we deal with the Foucault's pendulum, and that's the part that he did not rebuttal. He did not deal with cranes. If a crane is a makeshift pendulum, it's set in motion because let's say you've been using it at work. The crane will settle and it will not move at all. The crane should have some kind of constant motion even after it's been used, and it should mimic what the pendulum is doing. So That's something you didn't really deal with. But again, you did exactly what I said you would do. That you would say that the Earth atmosphere is synced to the ground, but have independent pockets moving within that universal sync atmosphere. And that's exactly what you did. So as far as the Foucault pendulum concept, because I want to bounce back and forth in my rebuttal and kind of doing back and forth, you know, if a crane is being used, after it's being used and the person go home, the motion that the crane already had should continue. It should act just like a pendulum. I really want you to address that when you come with your rebuttal, because I'm going to make another prediction. You're going to say the crane can't act like the Foucault's pendulum for whatever reason. You can't do this at home yourself, folks, with a makeshift pendulum. You see what I'm saying? So he's going to have a way to explain why the crane cannot act as a pendulum to backdoor his way out of the fact that the crane should be. It should be. He said that the Foucault pendulum need to be self-started, because if you don't, it will make certain violations of certain laws that he mentioned. I ain't going to repeat them verbatim, but the thing is this right here. Bringing up physics, bringing up different laws that you haven't proved either, you're making a claim off something that ain't proven, using something that ain't proven. You're saying, well, I don't supposed to be able to move the if I move the pendulum, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, because me not setting it in motion myself actually takes away from the experiment. It violates certain laws. It messes things up. I brought up the example of me trying this on a merry-go-round, and you said, well, actually, if you rotated a merry-go-round and you were actually able to attach an object to the merry-go-round while it's moving, your words was that the object will not move. It'll just stay still. Now, I ain't putting words in your mouth, Craig. This is what you said. And because of that, I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to actually do that. So in my opinion, I think that when it comes to the whole rotation debate, you used everything that I predicted you would do as a way to say, I don't understand the globe. But I don't care what nobody say, degree or not. If the earth is in motion and the pendulum is proving that motion, then you shouldn't have to set it in motion. You shouldn't. And you saying that you should, based upon you not violating a certain law, isn't proof that you should. All people got to do is use their own mind. That's all they got to do. Think of a crane, think of Foucault's pendulum, and ask yourself, why don't the crane show me what the earth is doing? The earth is rotating, right? Now the crane is just hanging still, perfectly still. All of the pendulums around the world are moving, mind you, at different speeds. The speed gaps are ridiculous. He gonna say that's a lie too when he get on the mic. So he talked about how the angles should be different. I'm not debating that. According to your model, the angles should be different, right? But the speed shouldn't be all drastically different like what we see, the inconsistency with the speeds. I said, man, he didn't address that. You did not address that. I hope you do it in your next rebuttal. I hope you address the speed of the Foucault pendulum. I hope you address the crane. And I hope you address the fact that when it comes to the clouds, let me skip back to the cloud one, because you did what I said you would do with that as well. How much of, if the entire Earth's atmosphere is one body, I'll come back to you on the cloud ones, but Craig, please address those three that I said. Don't leave me in the dark on them, man. Go ahead.
I mean, I've already explained these, and you're just not in really. So, yeah, cranes aren't pendulums. They aren't on pivot points. They aren't inside a area with no wind. If a crane was in a vacuum perfectly and it was swinging backwards and forwards, then it would drift like a pendulum. But you keep saying that it should keep moving. No, it shouldn't. Nothing says a pendulum should keep moving. That would be perpetual motion. That does not exist. Again, you are just not understanding physics and saying things that are objectively incorrect about what should happen because you don't understand the model you're trying to debunk. And that's kind of a you problem that you seem to want to make everyone else's problem. Pendulums don't move at different speeds, whatever that means. A pendulum's speed, as in the speed of the swing, will be dependent on its the length of the rope, the speed that it was let go, how long it can go for, whether there's an electromagnetic motor giving it a kick to keep it swinging. But what does happen is the pendulum's swing drifts depending on your latitude, which is what we expect. The thing is, you don't understand what a pendulum should do, so therefore you want me to explain to you why it doesn't happen, because there's no physics that said that it should happen. You are describing a violation of the conservation of energy, which can't happen. It's impossible. Just because you say it should happen doesn't mean it should. That's just you not being smart enough to understand what's going on, and that's a you problem. Cranes are not pendulums, and they should not keep moving after someone has gone home because of the motion. No, a Foucault's pendulum is something that has to be very precisely set up and released without introducing any other external forces, which is why in the video I showed a gentleman physicist released it with a lighter, because that means that no other forces are going to be introduced into it. It's not a ball and socket, it's a pivot point. I'm not sure if you know what that is. So that answers every question about the pendulum, but the main answer is that you don't understand the physics behind what a pendulum is supposed to show. It doesn't go at different speeds. It doesn't change directions. These are all just flat earth lies that you are repeating verbatim without ever testing it yourself. I have personally done Foucault's pendulum. But me, personally, that's the thing you asked for at the beginning. I have personally done it. And I calculated my latitude with it because that's what the physics says should happen. Now, the atmosphere. Very simple. The atmosphere is a fluid. Fluid flows. Yes, it rotates in total with the Earth because of gravity and friction and the fact that the atmosphere formed when the Earth formed and it's been rotating. There's no friction in space to stop it, so the Earth drags it around. But it's a fluid with pressure and temperature differences, so that fluid flows. And the two things can exist at the same time. You making a deal about, well, he said that the two things could exist at the same time, like it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's a problem for you, again, because you don't understand the physics. There's absolutely no reason why the atmosphere in total can't rotate with the Earth whilst also having flows from high to low pressure. That's no issues with that at all. Fluid dynamics says that that should happen. There's no reason it shouldn't happen. All the maths and physics says that that is what we expect to happen. Again, you're trying to debunk the globe by not understanding the globe. That's not how you go about these things. Every measurement ever shows that there is rotation. A pendulum, a ring laser gyroscope, a gyrocompass, parallax measurements of the stars. Every single time that an experiment is done correctly shows that the Earth is rotating. You made an issue about how the pendulum experiment is hard, therefore that's a problem. No, science is under no obligation to be easy to do. Yes, it's quite difficult to set up the Foucault's pendulum experiment. It is quite difficult to get it done properly without any other outside influences. But being difficult doesn't mean that it's not working. It just means that you have to do it properly, like every experiment ever. A Foucault's pendulum is a measuring device, just like a scale is a measuring device. If you set up a scale incorrectly, it's not going to do its job. If you set up a Foucault's pendulum incorrectly, it's not going to do its job. all the things that you are asking me to explain is like what I have to explain to my students that I teach physics to. Because I'm like, I don't just have a degree, I teach people that as well. I am someone that understands physics and passes on that knowledge to others. And yes, I will bring up my degree, because my degree shows that I'm right about physics. You don't have a degree in physics. I don't even know if you passed high school physics from the things that you are saying. It's very doubtful that if you said these things in a high school physics exam, you'd have got anything other than an F. Okay? I actually help people pass their exams in physics because I'm right about physics. That's what I do. I teach people physics online. I would teach flat earthers physics, but, well, you're not stupid because you're a flat earther. You're a flat earther because you're stupid. And I'm not insulting, I'm stating a fact. You can stop being stupid by actually studying and paying attention to people that know what they're talking about. You not understanding what a pendulum should do, or that a crane isn't a pendulum, or that the atmosphere is a fluid, it's a you problem. Just go and study some fluid mechanics. Just go and study some physics, and you will realize the things you are saying are categorically incorrect. There is zero reason why a pendulum should move on its own or sync up with the Earth's rotation. That is not what physics says a pendulum should do, and you claiming it should do that is just the you problem. It's you that is the problem. Not physics, not the pendulum, nothing. If you're going to do that, actually show your guns. Come on. All right. So you are the one that has not understood things and then asked me to debunk the fact that you don't understand them. No, Brother Sanchez, I don't have to debunk your stupidity. I just have to explain why you're wrong. Yeah. Where's your muscles? Come on, show them. Yeah. You know, I did push-ups whilst you were talking because I got so bored of your stupidity that I thought I'd just do some exercise instead.
He's big. He's turned red like Satan and got big mad up in here. Craig, hold on. This is red? Yeah, you are right now. You pig red. But go ahead and start us on this back and forth. Maybe your camera then. But watch this though. I'm ready to start this back and forth with Craig. I just got some questions for you real quick though, Craig. You don't think that because of if a historian have a degree, right? But they say Columbus, let's just give you an example. Columbus discovered America. I don't have the right to debate that historian just because they have a degree.
With a degree wouldn't say that because it's wrong.
But many have those, which means that things change over time.
Say that. All right.
There are historians that listen. There have historians that have claimed that the Indians that Columbus met wore skirts and that they were barefoot. There are other. Okay, but I'm just showing you the images we see from history. We see Indians in skirts and all of this stuff. In my history book in school, we saw pilgrims with Indians, right? We weren't talked about. I went to a school called Jess Lanier.
And what
I also went to community college of the Air Force, but I went for that was law enforcement background.
The Air Force that you were dishonorably discharged from.
I was generally discharged. I didn't have I had an honorable condition discharge. I was able to rejoin the military after that, so I went into the National Guard and actually got an honorable discharge after my general honorable conditions.
Things that say that you were dishonorably discharged then.
On my web, show me. Pull it up. Let's see it. Let's see it.
I showed it on my previous stream actually.
It said that I was dishonorably. I don't have a rap bio anywhere.
This conversation is irrelevant to.
Because guess what? If someone put that out there, it wasn't me because I don't have a biography to any other.
Irrelevant. We can move on.
Yeah, I never put a biography out there. Yeah, I don't know how he ended up getting me there because he don't want me to ask him these questions that I'm about to ask him.
But see, question first. Can I ask a question first? Because you've asked a lot of questions.
Well, actually, you just got through though, speaking for a long time. But go ahead with your question, Craig. Go ahead with your question, man.
Can you
Go
present
ahead.
me any measurement of stationary, please? Because I presented a bunch of measurements of rotation. Could you present one single measurement of stationary?
You didn't present any measurements of rotation. You showed a video
pendulum,
of the. That's not showing me a video of Foucault's pendulum. Isn't giving me any measurements. Now, when it comes to station, let me calm down for a minute. If I'm gonna answer the question, man, you're talking over my answer. If a merry-go-round is turning and I'm saying it's turning, and you say measure the merry-go-round speed, measure the spin, cool, we can do that. But if my claim is the merry-go-round isn't moving, what am I measuring? There would be nothing. So the fact, and that's exactly what we, that's exactly what we measure. Foucault pendulum doesn't prove that we are moving. I just don't see.
It matches the predictions of what we expect to see if we are moving.
But guess what? Here's the thing about Foucault pendulum. It's not in an enclosed, isolated system. You was just saying how if you put it needs to be in a vacuum. That's what you were saying.
No, I didn't say it needs to be in a vacuum. I said if the crane was in a vacuum. I didn't say the pendulum.
But why would the crane need to be in a vacuum?
Because it's usually outside in the air. All right, put it in like a building with no air then.
Isn't Foucault pendulum outside?
No,
Foucault pendulum is in a vacuum?
Inside.
Is Foucault pendulum is Foucault pendulum in a vacuum?
Yeah, I just said, don't worry about the vacuum. Put it in a building with no air blowing them. It's the same. But a crane is not a pendulum.
So,
it's not attached by a pivot point. Right, hold on. A pendulum, a crane is not a pendulum.
So you telling me there are...
Let me finish.
Let him finish, bro.
Right? A crane is not a pendulum. It's not attached via a pivot point. It's not swinging freely like a pendulum in an area with no air pushing it around. It is outside in the wind. And there is zero reason it should act like a pendulum because it's not a pendulum.
Just because you said that is, I don't know how it makes it right just because you're saying it. It's no different when you, hold on, it's my turn. You brought up the conservation of energy as if I think the pendulum should keep moving forever. I'm not saying that. Say what?
Let him speak, Craig.
Sorry.
Yeah, you brought that up. You kept on saying that there's no reason why the pendulum should go forever when I brought up the crane. Now, my whole thing is, it's not a matter of the crane going forever. It's a matter of the crane mimicking what the pendulum should do. If there's a Foucault pendulum in a building, for example, next to the crane, and there's a crane outside and it ain't windy, it's a non-windy day, shouldn't that crane start to mimic the rotation of the earth like the pendulum in the building next to it? Because you're bringing factors that we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it doesn't mimic the rotation of the earth. That's not what a pendulum does. It rotates independently of the earth, showing that there is a rotation. You
just said exactly what I just said. You just said what I said.
A crane is not a pendulum. It is not attached via a pivot point. It is not released slowly. I don't know how many times I have to say this to you, bro. A crane is not a pendulum. They are not the same thing. They will not act the same. And a Foucault pendulum does not mimic the Earth's rotation. That is not what it does.
It proves the Earth rotation by swinging in certain angular directions. That's all I'm saying. It's a measuring tool that proves. So you're repeating what I'm saying in different words, saying I'm wrong. That's all you're doing. And that's exactly what you just did. But the thing you're saying that a crane is disqualified because, number one, it isn't set in motion softly, I think the word you use, because you don't set it in motion.
And it doesn't have a pivot point.
Soft, and it doesn't have a pivot point. Those was the two. But why wouldn't the crane have a pivot point? If
because it's usually connected by a couple of different wires at the
Final
same
thoughts,
time.
please.
You know, it's not the same thing. A Foucault's pendulum is connected by one single pivot point. A crane has multiple wires going in to change the direction round and round. It's not the same thing.
That's not the type of crane. That's not the type. There's many types of cranes, bro. And another thing about the soft but it can act as a makeshift pendulum. Of course, the crane ain't the pendulum, but here's the thing. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You should be able to use the crane the same way. You're wrong. I'm telling you, with your degree, you're wrong, bro. And I don't know if it's because you're dishonest or what.
Get to tell me I'm wrong because my degree says
okay, and because it hasn't been pushed softly.
A pendulum is not a crane. Crane is not a pendulum.
We know that. But I'm comparing them. You're supposed to have a degree and you don't know what comparison is? And you don't know what comparing is with a degree?
They are not comparable.
Hey, you got to give me the belt though, Craig. I spanked you once again. I don't know why you want to. Flawless victory once again, especially with the moon mission parts. Mop the flow with you. Mop the flow with you. And I also
nobody thinks that.
I also know who y'all running from with the moon mentions. Bart Sibrel. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something real quick. When it comes to the moon missions, not only will I mop the flow and put the gloves on you with the moon missions, I got somebody, Craig, that I know. Or destroy you too with the moon missions, right?
Why did Bart Sabel run away from me?
Bro, you gotta prove all that. But one thing I had to give Bart a shout out on this debate because y'all been running from him too. But salutes to him.
He ran from me.
I doubt all that, man. I highly doubt that. I can set up you a debate with Bart myself. I know some people. I know some people.
Do it.
But you gotta get past me first, man. I don't want to waste Bart time, man. If he see this video, he gonna be like, of course he ain't gonna debate you.
Soldier in first level of Elden Ring.
Gentlemen, it's time for your closing arguments. Who would like to start? You have 5 minutes.
Oh, we still got closing arguments?
Yes.
Okay.
5 minutes each. Who would like to start?
I'll just he can go. Yeah, he can go first since I was going first on the last one. Go ahead, Chris.
Yep.
Okay, so quite clearly, Brother Sanchez was unprepared for this debate. He brought with him simply misunderstandings of what the globe model says should happen. You cannot debunk the globe model by not understanding the globe model. A pendulum is not a crane is not a pendulum, a crane is not a pendulum is not a crane. Don't know how many times I have to say that, they're not the same thing, there's no reason they should do the same thing. Bro keeps saying over and over and over that pendulum should sync up with the Earth's rotation. That's false. That's not what a pendulum should do. Again, that is him not understanding the globe model. He doesn't understand how fluids work and that fluids flow, even though they overall can rotate with the Earth. Those two things can exist at the same time. He didn't understand that a cloud isn't vapor, it's water. And even though I explained to him over and over and over how the buoyant force works, he kept asking the same questions because he doesn't understand buoyancy. I had to explain to him over and over again that a density tower cannot exist without a downward acceleration acting upon it. This is proven by the fact in the Vomit Comet it disappears. The fact that we can measure the trajectory of regolith from the moon buggy's wheels and it matches the gravitational acceleration of the moon, and there being no atmosphere, shows that to fake it you would have had to change gravity and remove all the atmosphere out of the studio that you were in. I don't know any technology that can do that because it doesn't exist. He mistook a pole in front of an astronaut for a flag behind the astronaut. There wasn't multiple flags, there was only one. I don't know why he kept saying that there was more than one. That's a bit ridiculous. The fact is there's no measurements for stationary. There is measurements for motion. Of course you can measure stationary. My car right now is measuring stationary because it says 0 miles per hour. When my car drives, it measures movement. It measures a tangential velocity. You can measure 0 and you can measure more than 0. Whenever you try to measure the Earth's rotation, you get more than 0 because the Earth is rotating. A pendulum does exactly what we predict it to do on Earth when the experiment is set up properly. An experiment being hard does not mean it is incorrect. It just means that it's hard. That's fine. Science is under no obligation to be easy. The fact that Brother Sanchez thinks that he won this debate is quite frankly embarrassing for him. I absolutely will take him up on the offer to arrange a debate between me and Bart Seibel, because he was supposed to debate me on Joe Rogan and ran away. That was being arranged, but he cancelled it. Okay, so if you, Brother Sanchez, will arrange a debate between me and Bart Seibel, I'll 100% take that up. Bro made a bunch of claims about me maybe paying for my degrees and then instantly backtracked on that. No, I was paid to do my degrees. I have a degree in physics and I have a degree in nuclear engineering. That means I practically understand how the world works. Yes, someone with knowledge in something is better than somebody that doesn't have the knowledge in that thing. Bro proved he has zero knowledge of physics with the things that he said about the way that the Earth should act. He doesn't understand the thing he's trying to debunk. We can measure rotation, we can measure curvature, we can measure gravity, independently verify that the moon missions happened. Not just one or two people or agencies, civilians around the world from different countries that speak different languages that have never met, all measured the same thing, that the moon missions were happening, and they were happening 250,000 miles away. Doppler shift and radio delay allow these things to be proven. We have everything for the globe. Flat Earth has nothing. Flat Earth can't explain any phenomenon. The globe can explain every single phenomenon that we experience. Every single one of them. Coriolis, gravity, rotation, the star. It's everything that happens on Earth can be explained by the globe. Flat Earth has zero explanation for anything. It can mention patterns, but it had no mechanism for why those patterns happen. Just like people used to think the Earth was geostationary and a sphere, and you could like see the little ellipse patterns of Mars and stuff. Yeah, you could measure those patterns, but it had no mechanism for them. Now we know the mechanism for orbits is gravity. We can measure gravity. We can see that it happens. And then we can predict and test and see that our predictions are correct. That's how you do science. Science doesn't say you have to do things yourself, even though I have done a bunch of these things myself. Science is about making predictions and testing them, and that has been done over and over and over. We can test the moon missions happen by doing them again. Oh wait, they did 7 times. 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. It happened over and over. They tested the theory of the moon mission being false by going and doing it multiple times. So thank you, Brother Sanchez, for letting me win this debate so easily.
Thank you for that. And it'll be time for your 5 minutes whenever you're ready. Yep.
That's not... Oh.
Can I start over? My mic was muted on my end, but it's okay. He talked about making predictions, right, over time that's consistent to prove your model. The people who gave us the system that we used to make these predictions with were flat earthers. For example, right, when we look at the zodiac, we see the same constellations in the sky that ancient people who built the pyramids saw. And we should be seeing new stuff. When you talk about how a sundial works, a sundial can't work if the earth was moving. If the sun's motion across the sky, the sundial only worked because the sun's motion across the sky is consistent and predictable relative to a stable earth. It can't work no other way. So the same thing, if you want to understand what that looked like, these Giza alignments. You have pyramids around the world that are aligned with Orion. And at least we know the ones in Giza are, and it's a sight to see when Orion is making its alignment above them. This is an alignment that happens predictably. It happens at a pattern. People have been predicting this for years. Now, if we was just hurling through space, we would see different constellations. And who would build monuments to one constellation that ain't gonna be there in a couple of more ages or whatever? So my whole thing is the way we built was assuming that the earth was stable, stationary, and that the sky was in motion. This concept I'm showing here is no different than a sundial. It's based upon a stationary ground and the sky in motion. What I'm saying is degrees don't make a person knowledgeable, because if our entire physics foundation is flawed from the beginning, then we're just the blind leading the blind. Even in our education systems, we don't know everything. And I think and I do think you're wrong. And I am challenging the mainstream science. Just because I'm the minority doesn't mean that I'm wrong and that you're right. It's too much stuff that says we're on a flat stationary earth. This alignment in front of you says the same stars we see, the ancestors saw. No parallax. These are things we can't, just ignore. We say the sun 93 million miles away, but when you look at the sun, it's within the clouds. The sun has clouds in front of it, clouds behind it. You know why? Because the sun is close. And the sun isn't a ball of hot fire, it's a plasma phenomena. Pilots have flown above the sun. I'm pretty sure many of you saw that video. Pilots have flown to a height where they can look down at the sun. And they are saying, from their perspective, what we're saying here. Pay attention. Clouds in front of the sun and behind it. Yet they give us a model like this. We should never have that situation. We should never have that. Look at how far the sun should be from the earth. 93 million miles away. You should never see it within the cloud, moving through the clouds. The ancients explained the sun as a close orb moving through the clouds the way we see it. Those are the people that made the systems we use today to make predictions with. We haven't changed those systems. All of the predictions we make about celestial phenomena is still based upon the ancient sesagesimal system, the Vedics, and the people who said the earth was flat. That's just the facts. Ptolemy tried to superimpose a two-dimensional zodiac wheel over a three-dimensional sphere. The zodiac wheel is two-dimensional because it was designed to be placed above a flat earth as the sky wheel turned. And everything, all the equipment we used is based upon that. A compass, a clock is two-dimensional. It's a circle. It's tracking what the sun and moon is doing above a circle. And everything is divisible by 360, 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes, 60 hours. All of that is divisible by 360 because we used to have 360 days before the Freemasons changed everything into the 365-day leap year that got everything thrown off today. And when you look at these alignments, the fact that we still have these ancient alignments taking place today, it proves to you that the earth is stationary, but the sky is in motion, and that the people who built these pyramids intend for Orion to someday come back around and make their alignment, and they will see. So that's my closing. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That was all we had for.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank
Appreciate
you for
yours too. We'll have more of these. If they're gonna be this easy, we should do one of them a month. I'm gonna be hitting you back.
Yeah, do it. Let's get another PPV going if you want.
Oh hell, you already know it, man. I'm gonna open up my panel on my end because I promised my people a little time, and I gotta read a lot of support and stuff. So maybe next time we'll have more time.
Then there is an after show on Max's channel, that Eurimate Talks, linked in the chat. So thank you very much, bro. And then I'll let you go out the Zoom call.
Was I fair? Was I fair?
You were, yeah. You shouted at me a lot.
Yeah. Thank y'all for y'all time, and I look forward to the next one though. Appreciate you.
All right.
All
See you
right.
later.